Javier, I think CM Punk and Cody Rhodes showed how you can build up a match between two people who are longtime friends. Do so respectfully. We can parse some of the words in actions and still make people think that this is going to be an intense fight that you want to see. Something missing from some of the other builds, including in the lead up to WrestleMania with Punk and Roman, is just to focus on the championship. I like Punk going. I want to find out who the better wrestler is, and I want to be champion, and Cody wants to be champion. I mean, I just don't think you should ever stray from that. I mean, that's a bold statement. There's times you want to stray from it. I mean, there might be a circumstance, but as a rule, that should be the centerpiece of any build to a main event match in a stadium, big pro wrestling event with two big stars fighting, especially for the number one prize, as Tessitore said at the end of the show, Joe Tessitore. So I like this. I think they've done good work. I didn't think they seemed desperate. They didn't come across as flailing, trying to come up with some sort of internet buzz or social media controversy. They just told a story that feels like it could exist in a real WWE world. So it worked for me. I'm curious to know what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. Yeah, I like that fine enough. Just want to say something. I basically binged everything from Night of Champions over the last 2 days.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of stuff fresh in my head. Everything's fresh in my head.
I was going to say, after we talked in the A block here, I'm like eager to talk to you because I know you were behind and had to catch up. So we're going to turn this into not just a review of some key things on SmackDown, but also bigger picture about the overall hype for the weekend for SummerSlam. So everyone stay tuned for basically a SummerSlam preview special here.
And the reason I bring that up is because I think it was in the last SmackDown promo. Cody did try to, or two ago, Cody did try to turn it into something else by saying that, I followed this thing. And I hate to give him credit. There was a great line by Punk in that where he said, "You don't have to complicate things. It just needs to be about. It could just be about the belt." So so that did happen. I mean, the stuff I don't like, and it is just that the stupid, convenient. I hit him with the belt accidentally, and that kind of stuff. But whatever. That is what it. It's. I'll take that over some other stuff. So. Yeah. But overall, yeah, I mean, it's just, they played up the whole friendship thing, that they get along together, and things has been, percolating, and now the lid's off, and, they're off to the races. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm definitely interested in the match, despite it being involving Punk. But yeah, okay, I'm kidding. I'll lay off on that for a little bit.
One thing that I like about this angle and the build might sound counterintuitive or I know there's a good phrase that's not coming to mind. Selfless. I'll say so. They didn't give us a lot to talk about that I can be critical of. Like they didn't do anything where I'm like, what are they thinking, or stop doing this. It's kind of what I said I wanted Roman and Punk to be more. You can be respectful, you can be grown-ups, you don't have to be petty, you don't have to be dicks to each other. But you can also sell a match based on the championship mattering. A rivalry to find out who the best is. Give us a genuine belief that you think you're better, or you're not sure and you want to find out. And I like the grown up approach that these two men in their 40s had to this, which is we'll be friends afterwards, maybe. And I love Punk's line, "It's up to you, Cody, if we're friends after this," implying I'm going to beat you. So can you be friends with me afterwards? I love the line of Cody saying, "You said you came here not to make friends, to make money." And Punk goes, the key word is make friends. The implication being, I don't want to lose friends that I had. I just didn't come here to make new friends. So there were some clever lines in there, but the cadence, the pace, the delivery, it all felt like two stars who are confident and hungry still, talking to each other respectfully, but intensely. By the way, when Cody said there's a word bothering me, and he said the word is tomorrow, what went through your mind, Javier, before he went on beyond that? Anything come to mind?
Not immediately.
That's enough. I just want to know if you had the same thought I did. It's just yes. I'm just saying it was a yes or no answer because I want to hit this point. I was curious if everyone had my thought. I thought, and I'm kind of relieved he didn't. I thought he was going to say my problem is it's tomorrow, not Sunday. we should be closing the weekend. This is a top title. And I thought he was going to go into politics about Roman. I was like, no, don't do that. And again, I don't know if anyone else thought that. That's why I wanted to find out if it was like obvious and everyone was thinking that, or maybe it's just me and a few others. And I like that it instead it was like, no, I want to say what are we going to do tonight, not tomorrow. And my point in bringing that up, Javier, is they didn't stray. Like I thought maybe that would be a time when they get into politics. Other than, Punk said, Sammy talks like a starter, but he's a bench player. I thought that was a good line. Defending the same 4 people headlining. Yeah, I don't know if you had to go there, but I get it. It's fine. That's something Punk's character would say.
Well, and that was actually a point of talk a couple weeks where Priest was the one complaining about that. So he was talking about that.
It was exactly. He talked. Sammy's complaining backstage. Priest has these things to say. I like the stuff with Trick earlier because it kind of played up the what's going to happen. They're basically having you as a viewer imagine you like looking past the SummerSlam match, but imagining, do I want to see Trick against Cody or Trick against Punk? Do I want to see Sammy against Cody or Sammy against Punk? Sammy covered both bases. Baron Corbin, Damian Priester's name in the mix. Baron Corbin's kind of floating out there as a new guy. I don't know. I mean, if they can move him to the top. So there were a lot of elements I liked about this. None of them were like desperate or hack or it just came across like, I'm Cody, I'm Punk. We haven't had a big singles match. This is for the number 1 title. We're in a stadium show. Let's just talk with confidence and go figure out who's better. I mean, I want that to be enough. It should be enough. And the way to make it enough is to not always be desperately flailing to make it about something else. So I like this.
Yeah, the overall, I think it's been a positive thing. I'll have stuff to say about the Roman Reigns stuff too. Overall, it's been because I like playing the devil's advocate, the other side of the equation. If there are a couple things, the things I didn't like was some of the pettiness, particularly the reaches back because they showed the tape of him,
at the house show last night.
Hitting him in the face and all that stuff, went into obviously scripted, so that's the kind of stuff I didn't like. The one thing that I have, it was a segment where I had a love-hate relationship with the whole thing, was when Cody was trying to make it personal. He was saying, again, a couple days ago, he was saying that he followed Punk, that he was following the pipe bomb promo that Punk laid out, and that's what he decided to do. And I thought that was the most Cody thing to say and the most Punk thing, because Punk was like agreeing with him throughout the entire thing. Because Cody was not following Punk's pipe bomb, he was following Drew McIntyre. He was following in his footsteps, which is what I was hoping that they would make that feud about. And they basically took what they had on that feud and kind of like forced it into this one, which was great because that's you want to create there's backstory to this, there's more deepness to this. But I was listening to that promo and I was like laughing because I'm like, this is what they should have done with the Drew McIntyre stuff. And I'm kind of hoping that whatever the next step, I mean, granted, Drew McIntyre has wrestled both of these two like to death by now, that when he comes back that he picks up on that, because I just found it hilarious how like they basically took somebody else's story and applied it to this. The other complaint I had is when you start talking about some of the stuff, like when when Priest talked about, I'm tired of the same people being at the top, and you don't want to. That's already something that the hardcore fans are talking about. You don't want to make it like an obvious thing because you're essentially drawing attention to something you don't need to draw attention to. It's like, talking about a wrestler that's too, you're too old or that kind of thing, unless that's part of the story. But those were the missteps I think they had, but those are minor compared to some other stuff we'll probably talk about. So, it is probably I would say it's the second match I'm most interested in this coming SummerSlam.
What's number 1? And then we'll just Fenn. It's short answer. Well, but Brock. Yeah. That's what I assume, but yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so you mentioned the line from Cody saying, "I did what I executed what people wanted you to do, Punk." When you did the pipe bomb promo, I love that. I mean, because it's true. You know, I mean, Cody had his checklist with his manicured fingers with the designer pen on a paper with very good penmanship. I remember, you know, putting on social media, here's my checklist, you know, check, check, check. He did all of it. He didn't say start a new national company that'll air on TBS with Tony Schiavone announcing again, but, you know, he laid out a lot of it. But for Cody to admit in the whole time, because Cody has a little bit of imposter syndrome with his dad being super charismatic and, you know, better in almost every way than him in his own mind. And in certain categories, Dusty was more charismatic and all that. But and then got more intense crowd reactions. It was more beloved by the fans until he overstayed his welcome and whatever. That's a whole other story that WWE doesn't talk about. But for Cody to admit, like, yeah, I was kind of doing something that, but the whole way people would have rather had Punk doing it, starting a company and being the anti-Vince, the anti-WWE and all that. I thought that was like a pretty interesting admission. So he bragged going, I did what you said you were going to do. You sat at home was the implication, or you went and dabbled in MMA, went to a Blackhawks game, and I went out and did it. But I always felt the fans would rather have it be you. I think when Cody says that, I think it softens any pushback against him or boos from people who want to side with Punk over him, because people go, well, I have to boo Cody to let people know I'd rather Punk be on top this whole time and he's my hero. If Cody sort of acknowledges and seems vulnerable and a little insecure and doesn't have a big ego, he doesn't seem delusional, I think it softens any pushback against Cody by Punk fans, which you can say isn't great in one respect, because we didn't get, notice tonight, we didn't get, let's go Cody, CM Punk, let's go. We don't have strong crowd reactions right now. We get stronger crowd reactions in the mid card for Austin Theory and Maxine against Otis. Like, that's getting more heat than some of this other stuff, because I think fans are just kind of burned out on, you know, the ambiguity leading to ambivalence in terms of who am I supposed to cheer for. And we got that in that tag team thing too earlier tonight. But that said, I would still vote for it, because I think Cody as a character, it builds him up to seem self-aware, because one of his weaknesses is he not self-aware. That showed a self-awareness and a callback, and I thought it tied together their legacies, you know, where Cody did what Punk said he was going to do, but he always felt fans would rather it be Punk. Like that made this match to me feel bigger, because they both were renegades and independent figures who took different paths to get to this moment in 2026. That's my case for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just that I just found it funny where it more maps to the because he gave you an interview, right, Drew Galloway, what he was planning on doing too. Yeah. When he left WWE and was either in TNA or going to TNA. Yeah, and that's the thing, because like that's one of the earlier PWTorch stuff I remember. So it's why it struck me so hard. And throughout Cody's entire like time in the Indies, I saw he was basically hitting the same places that Drew McIntyre was. You know, he went through TNA, quick. I agree with that. Yeah. So that's why I thought, you know, it still stands true that you know that the fact that, you know, he was rebelling against the machine with the whole, you know, throne that he, you know, Triple H and Vince McMahon, they're more than one royal family. All that stuff is also baked in too. You know, but I enjoyed that. The other thing I liked about it was how he said that he's tired of apologizing for being the top guy. That was the other thing I liked throughout the whole thing that he's done too. So, yep.
Okay, let's pause and introduce ourselves quickly here. Then we will throw some comments from the chat up on the screen and respond to them, Javier, about Punk and Cody in particular. Then we'll also open up the caller lines. You're welcome to join the show. Dorella's on hold already. To find the link to be on the show, by the way, go to my TV report, my written report on SmackDown tonight at the PWTorch website. Just go there. The link is there. Click it. You'll end up in the waiting room. We can bring you on. You can turn your camera off if you'd just rather be an audio-only caller, just like in our Blog Talk Radio days. But if you want to be on camera, you can be too. So you're invited to do that. So that's kind of what's on the agenda. Then we'll talk more about SmackDown and other things that happen on the show. And then we'll broaden it out. And I'm excited to get Javier's thoughts on Seth and Roman and other things on this show. We will talk a little bit about the division of the matches, night 1 and night 2, and how week night 2 looks and what to make of that, and more. And we'll also check the inbox if we have time for any emails. So send those in, Wade Keller Post Show @gmail.com. And otherwise, just partake in the chat. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show on Friday, July 31st, 2026. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the long-running Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter, and the website PWTorch.com, and the host of a variety of podcasts, including some free ones like the Wade Keller podcast. Earlier this week, Greg Parks, longtime Pro Wrestling Torch columnist and podcaster, joined me, and we talked for hour and a half, 2 hours about a wide array of topics, a lot of SummerSlam talk, of course, and some AEW fallout from their pay-per-view and more. So check that out. It's our Blue Logo show. If you haven't subscribed to that yet, especially if you're finding us on the YouTube side of things and you haven't subscribed to the podcast feeds, encourage you to do so. Just search Wade Keller in your podcast app, and you'll see the blue logo show up and the red logo. Subscribe to both. Both logos give you access to shows that are podcast only. And while you're at it, search PWTorch, and that'll bring up our PWTorch Dailycast feed and our PWTorch VIP free sample feed. The PWTorch Dailycast will include our SummerSlam post shows this weekend. Format similar to this. Greg Parks hosting tomorrow night, by the way. And other shows, different shows each day of the week. The PWTorch 90s Passcast, Worse or Better, shows focused on AEW, NXT, and Impact, and more. So, and the indie scene. So check that out. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app. We'd love to have you subscribe to our shows. And while you're at it, please give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We're trying to bring our average up, and you can help do that. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. Set that alarm so you know when we go live. And feel free to comment on the show, whether you're watching us live in the chat or after the fact in the comments area. Javier Machado is my co-host. He is a PWTorch contributor right before we went live here on the PWTorch YouTube channel. Javier, you sent me your primer for SummerSlam, so I'm looking forward to that. I didn't have a chance to look at it yet, so I will be asking you questions without knowledge of what you wrote, but I encourage everyone to go read your SummerSlam preview on PWTorch, along with all our other great content. We've got G1 coverage, by the way, if you're interested in New Japan G1, getting either reviews of the matches that you're watching to see what our team has to say about them, or just keep up on things and see what matches you might want to watch. Those reports are up on the website also. Javier, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Wade. I had to wait for the results of Julia and Lash Legend because that was going to play into what my analysis on that was.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by the outcome, but it confirmed, whatever's going on with Julia is not a rocket being strapped to her like Trick Williams. I was pretty sure it was going to be Lash, but I didn't want to guess. The surprising part was the fact how it was just a squash, basically. That's the thing, yeah. Julia's basically become a jobber at this point. All right, Derek Mitchell in the chat says it would be great if the title remained the true centerpiece of the show. Cody emphasized that the championship is a crown jewel, the king's crown, and it should always be the primary focus. And I mean, again, that's, there are things that work to help increase interest in a show or a match that you're promoting, but there are foundational things that are important also that pay dividends later. And I think part of what Punk and Cody did here wasn't just sell their match, but it was selling the importance of the championship and selling the notion that this is a competition to try to win a match. It's not a competition to see who can get the most social media buzz or have the most views on of clips that are propagated all over social media, or create outrage or oohs and ahs. I can't believe they went there. Grayson Waller on Tuesday, that kind of thing. This is just straightforward. You can drop this promo, pretty close to this version of this promo in any era of two veterans fighting for a championship, and it would work. And I like that, because I think wrestling has strayed from that for dopamine rushes that are ephemeral and don't add up to selling tickets. And this was more on track. Javier has nothing to say to that.
Yeah.
I didn't throw it. No, that's fine. I was looking for the next chat comment to throw up after that.
I nodded, and I realized that's not good for podcasting.
It's not good for podcasting. Plus, I wasn't looking at you. I was looking at the live chat, so I didn't even see you nod. So, but if you want to just do sign language and nod, I mean, I can carry it and interpret for you. All right.
Show you a sign. No.
Standard Deviation says, by the way, I'll still push back on what you said, Wade. What's foundational about focusing on 2 world titles? Well, there is that. Although, Kerry Von Erich, there's only one world. There should only be one world champion in the lead up to Super Clash, AWA Super Clash 3. But when he and Jerry Lawler were going to merge their titles, champ versus champ matches go way back. But having 2 championships, 2 top men's singles titles in the same promotion when you don't have a super strong division between brands is still ick. I mean, when you're doing a house show circuit trying to sell tickets and that's a big part of your revenue, there's an argument to say, we just want to have a world title match on each of those. If you're doing brand separate PLEs or pay-per-views, even though we don't want that, there's a rationale built into it to have a world champ to headline each of those shows. But yeah, ultimately having a singular champion has massive benefits that they are missing out on. Let's put it that way. All right. Some other comments on that closing segment. Javier, Standard Deviation says, I'm up to just before the main event, and so far Punk's closing line against Trick has been the only highlight of the night for me. It's about time someone made sense of Trick's catchphrase. This plays into, Javier, what we said earlier, that I liked. They didn't just focus on like everyone going, I can't wait to face you, Punk, if you beat Cody, or it didn't give away the finish. But the having different challengers talking about wanting to face the winner of this makes this match feel more important, because you realize there's all these challengers lined up, and Punk's like, I want to face somebody, or I want to face somebody fresh. I want to face new talent, and it makes you realize, wow, the stakes are big, because it's the winner of this match is the veteran babyface champion who's proven he's better, and this is what they're selling. Who knows? There could be a controversial finish, and they do 6 rematches for 6 months. But the story they're telling is the winner of this match goes on to face this lineup of challengers, some new names and some names from the past.
Yeah, some people trying to skip in line, like Gunther.
Yes, yep. All right. Standard Deviation adds, I go into every big Cody match expecting him to turn heel. This time he lost clean to a heel in the lead up, Sammy, which traditionally suggests he's about to turn any day now. Yep, any day now. Javier, what's your inclination in terms of Cody turning heel? I've been saying for years, I don't think he's turning heel. I don't think he should turn heel. I don't think a few fans booing him because he's been booked against very popular heel opponents or other baby faces. Well, Cody pats him on the head and says, hey, kid, someday you might be a worthy draw. And as I always say, Cody's drawn more crowds over 20,000 than John Cena ever did. And it's like, it's so patronizing and oblivious and insulting. All that worked against Cody. And then Rock patting Cody on the head too. Like all this patronizing stuff to Cody that didn't treat him as QB1, and the alpha, has undercut him. Let him just have a run of being a babyface, being Cody. Like, no, there's no rush. And tonight, I mean, the crowd was more into Punk, but they didn't boo Cody. There were a few scattered boos or more cheers. They chanted Cody. Then there was a Punk chant that was a little louder than Cody. But, they're in Green Bay. It's sort of near Chicago. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think there's any rush. And I think people have read into things that were not Cody on the verge of turning. What do you think, Javier?
That's what I was actually thinking. That was one of my big thoughts takeaways from tonight. I was listening for the reaction when the two of them in front of the crowd right before you're about to go.
I think they're curious too.
Go home. Yeah. And so the crowd seemed 100% behind Punk. I would say like 75-25 with Cody, which was, because my biggest
with Punk.
No, well, it was 100. The crowd was 100% with Punk, but then they were, when Punk was talking, there were pretty much 100% cheers.
Yep.
When Cody was talking, it was like a 75-25.
Gotcha. I understand. Yep.
Which I see as a win.
For sure.
On the babyface column, because the fact that it's Punk, he could have. That was my biggest concern going into this feud. Was you're almost kind of tempting that he has to turn heel because it could do damage to the babyface version, and and also depending on how the story would play out. And since they basically kept it as friendly until like the last moment, I think that ended up. I think they did enough of a job there where. It's a straight up babyface matchup. I think this is like the least likely because I understand. I'm like I'm too always ready. It's like, is this week turns heel? But this is where I'm least confident that Cody's going to turn heel, which means it might be when he does. So I would actually consider the fact he's been talking about it online. And in interviews, Punk he's been talking about like he can never turn heel again because people are still going to cheer him. So I wouldn't be surprised that those interviews.
Don't be so sure. There have been people who've turned. There have been very popular babyface. Hulk Hogan thought no one would ever boo me, and they did. I mean but never. Yeah. I mean, Punk is in his late 40s.
But the fact that he brought it up though, in interviews makes me think that that's kind of priming the other side of the equation. And I could see him after this because I could see him turning heel for this in order to keep the title. and to continue the story going on. This is the thing is I haven't bothered to think about people coming back, so I don't know about KO. I haven't factored in KO into my thinking. I haven't factored Randy Orton into my thinking.
True.
I haven't factored anybody into my thinking. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Did you lose me?
I said,
Okay,
yeah, and Drew McIntyre. Yeah.
Well, no, because I lost my camera. So
I see. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I've heard you the whole time.
Okay. So Drew McIntyre. So all those people coming back. I haven't factored them in to see what happens, but you could just have Punk turn heel and then just have it continue from that point on.
And you could have both be babyface and split off and face heels. By the way, I think Cody's going to be a wonderful heel, and if he turns, I'll embrace it. My point, I'll embrace it in a vacuum, that I think Cody can be a money-making business, a jolt to the business and interest in WWE, because I think he'll be really good in that role, and I would like to see him go lean all in on it. I'm eager to see it, but I'm in no rush. Is my point all along is I'm in no rush. Let's get the most we can out of babyface Cody before he's heel. I want to see a heel Cody managed by Paul Heyman maybe against Obafemi in a year and a half. Like there's some really cool things down the road. I'm just not in a hurry, and I will stand by my thought that people have read too much into things that made them think they almost feel cheated out of what was almost promised, a Cody heel turn. And I don't think we were really ever there. I think there were moments, there was some pressure on him to turn heel, with the final boss type stuff, and Cody had a chance to decide and made the decision not to. And then here we are, and I think we're in a good spot. Another comment from the chat. Tito says, Tito102, not to be, or Tilto. Tilt, I don't even know. It's Tilt 0102. I can't tell the difference between a 1 and an L here. Cody taking off his merch jacket to reveal his business attire was so cringe. It took me out of it. I stand by what I said. The only good thing about today was Nick Aldis's promo. Stupid go-home show. It is very quintessential Cody to take off his merch jacket, throw it to the crowd, but then have, a watch chain or a medallion chain. Well, I don't even know what it is in a suit vest underneath it. It's Cody.
I think this is the most casual he's ever dressed, to be honest.
But to have a like sort of a bedazzled spring jacket that's sort of casual, you would expect like a running suit under it or a t-shirt, and to take it off and to have a vest that's part of like a very formal 3-piece suit from like the early 1970s or something. Like that's the part that I think is just kind of startling. Like those just didn't go together. So it drew attention to the fact that when you see Cody like in a jogging suit, don't rule out that he doesn't have a vest and a watch chain underneath it, or whatever. Anyway, let's see. Darrell, who will be joining us as a caller, says, unlike Seth and Roman, Punk Cody did make the title feel important and not make it about other things that really don't matter, like trying to be smart. I agree. There's a comment from Derek Hubbard, who will be part of our weekend post shows also. Cody and Punk raised the tension and heightened the stakes, meaning the belt, without being unlikable or petty. Absolutely. That's my that is one of the main things that I liked about what they did here. I think they can both come out of this as baby faces. I don't think they crossed any lines where we have to selectively forget what they said and just sort of pretend it didn't happen in order to keep cheering them. I think that this was smart to protect them both or to make a turn more shocking. Anything to add to that, Javier?
No.
What is your official prediction for this match?
I don't think Cody can win. I think it'd be a bad idea for him to win because once you've already brought up he's the golden boy and it's the same people at the top, and you've already had people, fans complain about, he's been champion for too long and tired, we're tired of Cody. I think you give him a break for the time being, put him in something else, and just whet people's appetite for him to get back to somebody for him to take down. I think that is the best case scenario. So I'm hoping that Punk wins because I think you could still do some more stuff with Punk with the other people there that are in line while you do, rehabilitate is usually used like in the wrong, like saying that, he's been damaged. I don't mean it that way, but kind of like prime him for something, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right, Vinny Guakin says Punk versus Cody had the better build than Roman Seth, but I think this will be the first of many matches between them, which is why it's night one. That might be the rationalization. It also might be true. They might have been on night one no matter what, because Roman's the guy who's going to headline night two. But there is, I think there could be something to that. That the finish to Roman Seth might be more clean, more decisive than what we see with Cody and Punk. What are the options there? Is this GTS, Cody goes down 1, 2, 3, Punk wins, Cody goes away for a few weeks, comes back, has an issue with somebody else, and we just sort of move on? Or is the only way for Cody to remain a top guy to turn heel? Or are we going to see Punk versus Cody in multiple circumstances going into the end of summer and maybe even into fall?
I think a Punk, not necessarily heel turn, but maybe like he does something unsavory to win. You know, takes a cheap shot, takes a not maybe short of a low blow, but takes advantage of something where he could still have plausible deniability, while at the same time did he really mean to do it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Vinny Guakin says also, when Cody said, "What do you want to talk about?" and the fans chanted CM Punk, I'm surprised Cody didn't mention it and get into more of his issue about Punk being the champion and not him. I don't know if Cody wanted to draw attention to that. What do you want to talk about? Although he could have easily said, "So do I." Punk, Punk, come here, get close. I got something to say. Whatever. I mean, it was fine. I don't know if he saw that coming. What do you want to talk about? What did he anticipate a CM Punk chant? He kind of paused. He goes, Green Bay, and then he soaked up the crowd reaction, and there was a Cody chant. And he goes, Green Bay, what do you want to talk about? And then there was a CM Punk chant. But again, what do you read into or draw from the crowd not being as intense? Like if John Cena was sitting at home watching this, he's like, man, these two guys aren't over because no one's chanting, "Let's go Punk, Punk sucks," or "Let's go Cody, Cody sucks," in this super intense, loud chant. It wasn't that. This was not a communal participation crowd. This was a crowd, and I argued this, and others did too, like Punk, what the fans are doing with Cody and Punk is listening. They like both. They're paying attention. They're not bored, but they don't have vitriol. They don't have like passionately negative feelings that would inspire them to. And it's a pro and a con. I don't think once they book this match, I don't think you desperately try to get what they don't have here. But it can give the impression that there's not a lot of anticipation for it because they haven't gone for desperate things that would lead to the intense, dueling chants. I don't see it as a negative because I think foundationally they did a lot of good things here. But what do you read into? What's your assessment of the crowd response to this segment and the segments you've watched as you were kind of catching up on stuff?
So basically, so when you want to involve somebody in a match, you got three main aspects, right? You have the face, which is the person that they want you to cheer. So if you have like a strong baby face, you want this guy to win no matter what at any time. That's when you have a really strong baby face. Heel, someone you want to boo, and sometimes that character can carry the whole thing. Hogan did that for a lot of time. How many people did Hogan beat that were just built as monsters and then disappeared after you beat them once, right? Then you have heels that are super strong heels that you just want to see somebody beat, right? No, you don't care. You just want to see them lose. And then you have the story element. Am I invested in the story? So those are three things that get you invested. Ideally, you want to hit all three, right? The trifecta. You want a great story with a babyface you absolutely love and a heel you absolutely hate. That's the trifecta that's supposed to get you the most investment in that one specific match. I think that because you're dealing, and I think this is what you see across everything, including the Bloodline versus the Unlikely Trio and even Seth and Roman, is that because they're not really positioning the wrestlers as someone you really want to win, you want to see them accomplish their goals or be prevented from accomplishing their goals. The stories was carrying the biggest amount of weight. So in this one, it was a straight up story. So I think what you said, Wade, people are sitting down. They're not like cheering and really into it, but they're on the edge of they're on the edge of their seats, waiting to see what's going to pop off, what's going to happen next, who's going to win. So there is engagement there. It's just you're not engaged with either one because you like both of them. But you're engaged with the story. If they weren't engaged with the story, I think you'd more likely get a, let's go Cena, Cena sucks kind of, dueling chant thing, or, let's go Cody, let's go. And you'll probably still end up getting it when the match happens. But, it's, I think that's just because that's par for the course. But I think that's ultimately why you're ending up getting some less crowd, anticipation, because they're just watching. It's like if you're watching a TV, because when you're watching a TV show at home, you're not like cheering for the TV, for the TV. You're not cheering. You're watching a movie. You're not. Sometimes you do, but you don't cheer. You're not yelling at the screen. That's kind of, I think, that people are sitting down and watching like a play, watching something, and I think that this transformed them in their mind where they're actually watching what's going on as opposed to getting really invested in the characters and hoping for one specific person to win.
I agree with you, Javier. Darrell in the chat says, tonight on SmackDown, they went back to telling stories and giving stories for after SummerSlam as well. Standard Deviation said, because, some people have brought up, and you have, the misunderstandings or the inadvertent, collisions and such. Standard Deviation says, I'm fine with the misunderstandings because in the back of my mind, I'm wondering if it's a case of plausible deniability. Punk swinging the belt and Cody taking offense to it. It's a little too convenient, but, the adult thing would be for Cody to be like, whatever, whatever. Not, flip out. And then, Cody snapping, being a little on edge when Punk put his hands on him. I don't know. I mean, I think you want to have some of that. Yeah.
And what they did well with that over the weeks is that when he did snap, he did back up and say, "Okay, yeah, I overreacted."
Yep.
From time to time. So it buys into it breaks away from like what W usually does, which is just continue like stack and escalate things.
Yeah.
This was more like, okay, I overreacted. Maybe I overreacted. I'm going to take you at your word. Those were kind of the conversations that we're having until the elbow in the face. At that point, you're like, is it? And at some point, it's going to blow up. But the fact that it happened often, and the only possible thing is that they were doing it purposefully to start getting back at each other, where you start getting to the petty, not petty in terms of like unrealistic petty, but what's the word I'm looking for? Passive aggressiveness, basically, kind of petty.
Yeah, petulance.
Yeah.
Would it have been better if Cody and Punk beat up a bunch of security guards and police officers?
No, but I do. But speaking of that, one of the thoughts I did have was, man, did the security take a long time to come out to break them apart? I wonder if Pierce was purposely hoping to sabotage that main event.
Oh, I see. Speaking of which, I don't know if I was the only one, but when Punk took the bump, the kind of the awkward bump off of the Cody awkward clothesline during the brawl, and then when Cody clotheslined him over the top rope and he took a bump on the floor, I'm just like, he's going to blow out his knee. He's going to sprain his ankle. Something's going to happen here, and they're going to have to call some audible. And I don't know what that audible would be other than whoever wins, Sammy Finn gets a title shot later in the night or something. I mean, I was like, come on. And then they're standing on the table, and all it takes is somebody to slip. Anyway, thankfully, as best we can tell, that did not happen. All right. Mark Biscetti says, Punk looked younger tonight. His energy and aura perked up when he's in the main event of a big show. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he seemed like he was he's up to it. He seems like he's having I think he's looking forward to wrestle Cody. So I think that goes with what with the territory with Punk.
Yeah. Sean Plichta says, I was always ready for this match, and the last 2 weeks have gotten me more excited about it. He also adds, Cody turning heel is more interesting now after the last few weeks. Interesting. Let's see. JC Scooby says, Punk was a star of SmackDown tonight, and Sammy was the runner-up. Darrell, who we'll get to in a moment here, says, I like that Punk called out the people in the back who felt like Priest, and I like that they didn't go like Seth and Roman, for sure. Atlas Fear says, I think it was in reference to my comment earlier. He goes, I had the same thought when Cody stressed tomorrow also, meaning, he's going to complain about not getting a match on Sunday. And Cade K says that was my thought too, Wade. So thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone, and it's nice when people chime in who aren't normally part of the chat when I ask a direct question like that and back me up. Sadler version 3 says final segment was fine, but it didn't leave me antsy to watch this match. All right. Let's bring Darrell. Are you fine if we take Crofton first? Yeah, Darrell's always hanging around. So Crofton, we're going to bring you on if you're ready for us. Crofton, welcome. Good to see you. Good to hear from you.
Hey guys, great to hear from you. Sorry, I totally expected Darrell to go first, so I was not prepared. But that's
he always says he's going to watch the whole show anyway. So put people first. But I like to ask him because I can kind of see a little box in the corner, and he gives me the thumbs up. And sometimes others can't stay up late. So.
That's awesome. I sometimes it's probably good if I get more sleep. So appreciated, Darrell. I would just right off before changing topics or anything. I did want to talk about the Cody Punk angle because I'm sort of not in alignment, I think, with where you guys are. I have found this whole build very boring, and I do get the face versus face dynamic, and I like both those guys, so that is a thing. But when there's no strong dislike and there's no heel, you can make it about the championship and who's the best, and they've touched on that a bit, but they often spend a lot of time repeating the same talking points. We've been circling each other forever, we can't avoid this. I'm like, I don't know how many times they've said something like that. Or stupid, dumb misunderstandings. Ooh, an elbow in the face or this. And then little passive aggressive stuff like they did tonight. And none of it felt big time to me. And because of that, I felt just kind of bored by this. And the crowd was dead in the main event segment. And I get what you guys are saying, where they're both, they like everyone and they're on the edge of their seat. I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I was like, this seems like they're limping to the finish line. And then of course they threw hands at the end and people were, I think, got a little bit more invested. I'm wondering if this is what Vinny from the chat mentioned, the first chapter of a multi-chapter story in which that they have repeated confrontations where there's now increasing bad blood. But I don't know, for a main event of SummerSlam, this is just felt it's just missing some sort of juice. I can't even fully articulate what it is, but it's not resonating with me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not shocked somebody would feel that way. And I think people have not just every right, but it is thoroughly understandable that you would watch this and be like, I'm looking for something else. I am advocating not that this is the best way to sell tickets to an event, but it is the best way once you decide to book yet another face versus face match with two people in their 40s. I think this is the right way to build it up because there wasn't desperation. There wasn't a hot shot. People weren't breaking from their normal characters in order to try to grab people's attention. So I respect the restraint, but I also, in addition to that, genuinely like some baseline situations where you sacrifice a Crofton being super energized and engaged in order to focus on two adults acting like adults, talking about a championship, having their temper tested, and in reacting to some things and going into a fight. I mean, they did fight in the end. So yeah, I will continue to defend this, but I understand, and I'm not shocked, and I don't lose respect for you having watched this and going, yeah, it's not for me.
It's more, Wade, that it's the second biggest show of the year, ostensibly for the WWE. And so I hold the main events of these shows to a high standard. Like, this is the culmination of a big story, or this is the blow off of a big feud. Oba and Brock, Hell in a Cell. Okay, that makes sense to me. This is on SummerSlam. Seth and Roman, despite my beef with how it's essentially unfolded, it makes sense to me that this be a SummerSlam match. This makes sense in the sense that they're both big stars, but in terms of the story, it feels like they've quickly rearranged the title situation to get to having their pieces ready to have this match, and then they had a couple of weeks of them saying, well, we can't circle each other forever. So it just hasn't hit for me as a main event of SummerSlam as it would be in, say, like the main event of, I don't know, even the Royal Rumble as like a main event. The Royal Rumble itself is the match people are there for, and then KO normally gets whatever the against the champion. And so, like, you know, I could see it in that slot, for instance, with the less high requirement for there to be juice behind the story. But for me, just for SummerSlam in particular, it feels like I respect all the same things you do about two adults treating each other in a way that adults normally would, although I do feel some of these misunderstandings blown out of proportion and passive aggressive things aren't exactly the most flattering to these baby faces. I just, for SummerSlam in particular, is I guess what I meant.
Two quick chat comments, and I'll have Javier respond to what you said, Crofton, if he has anything to say, or he might just not. Vinny Guakin says, Cody has always been good at emphasizing the importance of the WWE Championship. Derek Hubbard says, I don't think they needed a brawl, but I sympathize with the idea because it gives the live crowd a climactic moment and ending to the show. And I think it was good they brawled. It's risky. You know, somebody can get hurt. You hate to say that about wrestlers, but just with, you know, and Punk would, I'm not injury prone. It's just two freak things. It doesn't make me injury prone. But, you know, they're not getting a ton of reps. They got some reps last night in a tag match, and, you know, things can happen. But I thought it was fine to have them fight. You know, I mean, that's what, it's not just for the live crowd. I think you want to give people a taste of the intensity. What you don't want to give people the impression of is these two respect each other too much to go at it hard. And obviously we know they're going to go at it full steam. Javier, what do you have to say, if anything, about what Crofton's perspective has been on this?
This is probably not going to be the only time you hear me say this tonight, but one of the biggest issues I think WWE has with their writing right now is not the storytelling, is not really even the, you know, how they're positioning babyface, and is the pacing of the storylines that they're telling. Mm-hmm. I could totally understand what you're saying, because that conversation of we're circling each other happens several times because they're buying time. Their pacing, especially for the stuff that's going on with the Roman Reigns and Bloodline stuff, is atrocious based on the storyline that they're telling. Because I binged everything at once, I was able to, you know, crunch it, and I guarantee if you read my primer on particularly the Reigns situation, stuff like that, it's going to read a lot better than it actually came out on TV because of the absolute stretch that both, you know, both main events had. With the Punk situation, because it doesn't have the Punk and Cody Rhodes situation, because, you know, they're both baby faces, and it's more of a situation of like two guys who are equals and trying to see one who's, you know, big brother versus little brother is basically what this is. You know, so that makes it a lot easier to follow what's going on. But you're right. If this story is, it's been like what, how many weeks it's been going on, and you're only getting snippets, and every episode is just like a little, like, you know, move forward, move forward.
They didn't have a ton of weeks, though, Javier. I mean, they just, Punk just won the title. You know, like it doesn't.
Yeah, no. I because remember, I'm also talking about the Reigns one. But
right, but I'm saying there's a difference in pacing between the two and I think benefits Cody Punk. Is kind of my point.
Which is why I have that one rated higher than that, because because since it wasn't that much of a stretch, but you still like overlapped a couple of weeks of the storytelling that you're telling. It's worse than the Roman Reigns and Bloodline situation, and I'm putting those together because they're the one feeds off the other. That one's been going on since WrestleMania, I think, or at least since the Jacob Fatu bent the knee. Maybe even before that. So how long has that been? And there's a crucial plot point there, which is what's caused all the issues for these storylines.
I think it would be interesting, Javier, to have WWE experiment for a year and do a 1 or 2 month max where they're doing any program. It's just we settle it. It's one off. We're feeding wrestlers to other wrestlers. We're not going to the same people on top against each other. And see what happens. I mean, just sometimes you just change the pace for the sake of changing pace. You know, in the NBA, sometimes they just go to zone defense, just for the sake of like kind of shaking up the rhythm of the game because it's not going your way, or you want to throw the other team off. Throw the fans off. Be less predictable. Give them something that feels rhythmically different, to grab their attention. Go bang, bang, bang with feuds and challengers. And because I think there is something, this sounds soft, a soft compliment. There's something to what you're saying. There's more than something. I think you're onto something in that there is sort of a feeling right now of, especially with WrestleMania starting later or taking place later in the year between the Rumble and Mania, that's been going on in recent years where that's become a thing. Oh, they're stretching things out more. So yeah, I think there's something to that.
It's kind of like the same feeling I get with some less than stellar streaming shows where they're making 12 episodes, right? But their budget for like the big special effects extravaganza is, set for the last episode. So you basically have almost like 8 episodes of like nothing really happening, and then like everything happens in one episode. Mm-hmm. This is kind of because since they're booking for the specific date of the pay-per-view or Saturday main event, because sometimes you have like 1 week between those or 3 or 4 weeks, you end up stretching and repeating the same things on your weekly show just to get to the big points at your PLEs and premium shows.
I think they would argue what they did with Sammy's title reign was shaking things up, trying to pick up the pace, cram more stuff into a storyline. It's not like Io Sky and Liv Morgan have been feuding forever. It kind of was a tournament thing, and now they're getting a match for the title. Danhausen and Dom, we saw coming for a while. There's sort of a supporting match. Sammy and Finn just kind of came out of the blue. Trick and Corbin came out of the blue. Penta and Gable, kind of an unlikely match. I wouldn't have expected they would do that. That's not a result of months and months of storyline. My point is kind of picking some of that stuff out is it's not like this card is full of matches that we knew 3 months ago were going to happen at SummerSlam. That said, and I say that sort of in case that's a pushback, or imagine how would WWE respond to that? I'm like, that's not the point Javier is making either. The point is at the top of the card. Let's pick up the pace. Let's make some of the other PLE seem important. Crofton, jump on in. Yeah,
no, I appreciate that discussion, and Wade, your appreciation of Sammy is always appreciated as well. So I was just 2 last things on this before moving on the Punk Cody segment. One, in terms of dueling catchphrases, Cody should have gone first when doing, is it great to be alive and get the crowd into it, or just asking people what they want to talk about. I feel like his going second was not helping him. And the other thing was that Punk's shots at Priest and Sammy in that promo were really cutting, like to the point that I understand he's probably laying the groundwork to set up other feuds and stuff like that. But Priest in particular is a baby face, like saying Sammy's a perpetual bench warmer or whatever is brutal. But like, I forget exactly what he said about Priest, but he didn't use his name, but it was clear that it was in reference to what he said last week. And he called him a piss baby. Did he? Yeah. Okay. So I just thought that was, it was not, I don't know, a good look for a babyface, I thought, but whatever. And I mean, Punk is the one who was, complaining about the same people being on top. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I think you don't want, he's in a bit of a glass house when it comes. He's already facing, I mean, it's quite a biting comment to say Punk, Sammy says it. Punk's become, the corporate champion. What do you call him? Corporate champion number 2? Number 2, yeah. Yeah. And, a dig at Cody and the Punk's the same thing. And I mean, some people got that impression watching WWE Unreal. He's gone to Saudi Arabia. He's monetized. Maybe he tried to boycott or fight it and didn't win. But there's cute little dolls with pipe bomb promo T-shirts on there that they're marketing. I mean, that's like people get mad when there's like this anti-establishment rock music, and then the band sells it for some private equity firm trying to get you to buy some bad insurance or something, like whatever like, oh, you sold out. I mean, there's a lot of Punk right now that is looking at his bank account and wanting to stay in the spotlight without the leverage to push back while keeping those things. And he has, we see what he's chosen, for people who thought Punk was authentic and he'd fight to the end, and he'll be working indie shows before he caves into some company like TKO. Sorry, that's not going to be his legacy. People are going to like his promos and his body of work, but I mean, it brings a little true. So then for him to go, you're big about saying 4 people on top, Punk, that's what you were saying decades ago. So I don't know. I'm just like, the fact that Sammy and others are calling out the hypocrisy on TV, and I think it's been recurrent from different protagonists over the past, few months. It would not surprise me to see Punk be the one that say turns heel in this feud.
I'm not against it.
Cody.
I mean,
so
Paul Heyman managing Punk again is intriguing. I mean, who knows where the vision was going to go timing wise. If there weren't all the injuries, and I don't know how Oba exploding on the scene the way he has changes any of the calculus. But Paul doesn't have, when Brock's not around, Paul doesn't have a top guy to manage. I think he's enjoyed managing Braun Breaker so far, and that might be where he settles. Logan Paul's fun, but Logan's, kind of in a different spot than, can you believe Logan Paul's wrestling for us? He's going to be in main events. Now, just kind of, in the speed of traffic right now as a top tier guy, but not top. Austin Theory's doing fine, obviously, but he's not like, Paul's not going to imminently make him the centerpiece of his faction as a heavyweight contender. So you have Punk kind of hanging out there, and Braun Breaker, I think WWE Unreal made him out to be this kind of cool dude, just call him chill dude who is a good athlete and whatever. So, I don't know. I just, the scenario of either Cody or Punk being managed by Heyman, it doesn't have to be Heyman managing him, by the way, but both of them intrigue me, and I think both can be great. But you're right, Crofton. And Javier brought this up earlier. Punk, I can't turn heel again. It's like, whoa, thou doth protest too much. Can be one way you look at that. Punk would be and maybe that's what will excite Punk. I think sometimes Punk's kind of bored.
It's felt like that in the build up to this feud, at least for me. Just moving away from this towards Baron Corbin quickly, because
it's a different Baron Corbin, says the announcers.
So I didn't watch Baron Corbin in NXT. I know he was paired with Braun Breaker there. I know that I think that they did quite well. But this might be the longest solo promo segment I've ever heard Baron Corbin deliver. Or maybe there were other ones when he was feuding with Roman over dog food. I can't remember, but like this was one of the longer ones. And I think the contrast with Trick Williams did him no favors here. And he really comes across, at least to me, as, it sounds bad to say, but like a charisma vacuum in a way. Like he's trying, but I don't feel it. And then this segment felt weird to me because it was highlighting also the fact that he's getting a title shot at, again, the second biggest show of the year. And I guess returns are big deals, kind of no matter who they are. You're returning to the company. So, but like, I just felt that this segment felt a bit flat. Trick did well, like as he does. People like Trick. He had the good segment in the back with CM Punk, which I liked as well, setting up, possible fresh match. But how did you guys feel Baron Corbin acquitted himself today and reintroducing himself? And are you excited for that match at all?
Javier, go first.
I actually liked his presentation today. He does sound different from what I remember, because he was like probably one of the most overly scripted wrestlers back then. And I picked up. I know that the commentator's job is to sell you on what they're doing, but they've obviously sent the memo that he is more thoughtful, more thinking things through, and I think that the way that he delivered his promo actually worked in that respect. It's a bit. The whole thing's a bit weird because it's kind of like they airdropped him in like out of nowhere in the middle of what was what could possibly be an exciting feud between Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Obviously, they want to put that on pause and let other things develop. I'm not going to say that I'm going to any of the money I would quote unquote put down on for the pay-per-view would be to watch this match, but it's also something I'm not like it's not going to be a bathroom break match for me. So I'm interested in what they're going to be doing with Corbin, because they just he just showed up yesterday. So see what the plans are. If he's someone who we take serious moving away from the dog food days like you mentioned, or the broke ass Corbin, and they stop the cartoonish and just have him be the guy who has what was it, like cow skulls in front of his house, and then just have him be like that kind of personality. I'm fine with him not being particularly charismatic, just be a beater. And I could also see him like at some point just joining with somebody as their, as their beater, basically.
I think Trick had WWE fans not turn Trick babyface prematurely, and Trick was being obnoxious with Lil Yachty, full of himself. If they found a way to take his catchy music and catchphrases and just sort of likability, and had managed to just make it too much, like almost have him watch Willow Nightingale when she's just too much, and have Trick like be too much on too much on. If they had gotten him, Baron Corbin could be this like veteran who walks in and goes, "What am I looking at?" Like what are, and the fans would cheer, like finally somebody just walks in and goes, stand up to this Trick Williams, and he'd be like, and then you would have the announcers going, yeah, this Corbin's different. He spent a year stacking gold medals in jiu-jitsu. He's and Barrett says he's showing veteran savviness. And Corbin talks about you need patience. You're part of this generation that needs instant gratification, and it's all flash and no substance, or flash over substance. Corbin could have been like the baby face that this era needs. Is just somebody just flatly, calmly telling the truth to the face of obnoxious youth. And maybe there would have been a part of the audience that would have like come on board for that. It does feel a little backwards. Coming into tonight, I was kind of not even all that facetiously going, who are we supposed to like here? Because Trick is sort of being more heelish lately with Lil Yachty, and the stuff with Carmelo just felt like and then Corbin cut this soundbite that made him sound like he's just going to be this truth-telling sage-like veteran. So I don't know, Javier.
It was what Sammy did with Carmelo, if you remember.
And Trick, he did it with Trick too.
Yeah, Trick. That's right. You're right.
Yeah. Yep.
Sammy, it feels like when Corbin was cutting that promo, he's cutting what Sammy was telling him earlier this year.
Yeah. But do you like, to me, Baron Corbin feels like this calm, collected, mature truth teller, not a heel that I'm super excited to boo. Like I don't think there was a lot exciting about him or dynamic about him as a heel character tonight.
Agreed.
It's just if he's the fuddy-duddy, if he's the guy who doesn't want, you don't want him to be like, I'm boring, deal with it. But there is something about his lack of charisma that I guess you could parlay into, leaning a little more into, like, the announcers going, this guy is, like Barrett going, he's showing veteran savviness, and Testator celebrating him winning gold medals in Masters Jiu-Jitsu. Like, why, if you want people to boo him, why talk about him like he's matured and grown up and gotten better during his time off? Sometimes I just don't think WWE, like, has a grasp of, you get to choose what you talk about, and you should be emphasizing traits that will make people have a reaction to a match that it's designed to have. And it's not a huge thing, but it sort of, I'm kind of tilting my head going, you've just made a case why maybe I want to root for Corbin, and Trick is an immature, overly flashy, full of himself guy who everything's coming too quickly for. And he's, getting handed too much too quick. I don't know. Yeah.
You could say that stuff, but yeah, it would have been a smart idea to also tie it into the fact that this makes him dangerous, and he, and he's going to, and he does it to hurt people, not to, not because he thinks it's kind of almost make it a Tommaso Ciampa kind of character,
And Corbin leading with, Trick leading with his insult to Corbin, going, he's a big bald-headed Baron Corbin. It's like, you got to do better than that. Yes, he is big, and yes, he is bald, but like neither of those are insults. They're nothing. They're not character flaws. Like, there are things in Baron Corbin's history that you can pull from if you want to insult him, but insulting him for two things he had no control over. Actually, one he did. He finally shaved, what was left of his hair, and we applauded that. It was a good decision. So I don't know. Yeah, I keep saying I don't know at the end. But I don't want to.
It's a testament to Trick's
I don't know what
charisma
they're doing. Yeah.
That he could deliver that line, and until you repeated it right now, I didn't realize that it was ridiculous.
Well, that's the problem. That you absolutely nailed what the issue is with Trick. Is that he can try to be a heel, but he's so just delightfully charming in the way that he does it, and charismatic and bombastic. And he's the guy who walks into the room, and you're like, okay, I like this guy. That WWE didn't know how to deal with that when he first came in, and they turned too early on Sammy. And I don't like. Anyway, and now they've just given up. But I think there is a way to turn him heel. But you got to actually figure out what will get fans to boo him, and not just kind of what will be will be. And a lot of what WWE does now is, well, what will be will be. Baron Corbin, jiu-jitsu, and he's patient, and he's matured, and he's calm, and he's showing veteran savviness. We hope that gets fans to boo him. And it's like, you actually have control over what you say. Why don't you not say things that make you less apt to boo him and more apt to respect him and be in awe of him? Yeah, it's frustrating. All right, Crofton, what else?
I appreciate that. I have more respect for Corbin based on what you guys have said and what the chat's saying here as well. For me, he seems still very, very vanilla. Sami Zayn, his promo to open this show with Finn Balor, I thought both of them did really well, and it was really fascinating to me because they're sort of twisted mirrors of each other in the sense that these are two veterans that have been battling on the main roster, and then Finn's success came early, Sami's success came later. And it was interesting because Sami had been positioned against these golden corporate children of Punk and Cody, and here he was against somebody who is in more his position. And I thought this was the most that he came out like a heel since he's been like navigating this character change as the last real good guy. Like he really, the way that he was talking to Finn, saying, no, it's my time now. You can't have this time. This is my time, and Finn obviously not responding well to it. So I really thought that whole segment was really great. What I did not like was Gunther coming in and essentially beating up both the number one contenders. I thought not only did that sort of take away from their match, but when Nick Aldis came out and they started brawling, it made me think Gunther was looking past Nick Aldis as well. So like, which is, I guess, kind of in his character, but again, it's SummerSlam. You're trying to sell this big match. Gunther is not concentrating on that big match. Instead, he's concentrating on Sami and Finn, and in fact, making them look kind of crappy. So I did not like that part of it, but I did like, and I liked the Aldis run in, and I liked the fact that they were trying to sell all this is offense and the Texas Cloverleaf. So now at least there's one move that I can look for in the match on the weekend and be like, I know that move. That's Nick Aldis's finisher, But what did you guys think of the opening segment?
Javier, what do you think?
Those were my notes. The one I love the opening segment. When I was writing the primer, I'm like, oh god, I don't want to write about this. This is just match thrown in here. But the way they delivered and the work that they did, all the stuff that Crofton said, like pretty much nailed what I was going to say, including the my note here. I didn't like Gunther basically bigfooting them at the end. That's about the only thing. It made it seem like that match is unimportant. That this match is that his attack on those two is just to feed all this, which it is a more important match. Granted. Aldis and Gunther, but I didn't like that idea, particularly when they're going to be the number one contender who will be facing Cody and or CM Punk next. But as far as the back and forth with them, I think this is like the most. It pretty much solidifies any question in anybody's mind that Sami Zayn is the heel. He's basically put him. It's because everything he was saying, while true to some extent, he made it all about himself, and without understanding he was talking, like Crofton said, someone who's had similar situations with that. I also liked that Balor did not go into the, they didn't let me, they didn't, get me, they didn't allow me to compete, and it was, management was against me. I liked the fact that he didn't bring that up. So overall, I love that first segment. I think someone said that they only liked the first segment. I love that first segment. I thought it was the best part of the show.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I like Finn saying, I've been waiting a long time to get back here. I had this bad injury that derailed me. I've been waiting 10 years for this to come again. Sami used that against him. Finn then had a counterpunch. You need to, if you're going to, you want fans to think there's a chance either guy can win when they're presented as equals fighting for a big thing, which is a title shot. So if you were to put Finn in a position to make his case in storyline and meta that there's a chance he wins, he presented himself with some gravitas as a serious person who seriously is looking at being champion again or getting a title shot. And you do it whether you think it's going to land with a double-digit percentage of people or not. That's the right thing to do, and they did it. And then Finn came across as grounded and reasonable, and Sammy came across as unhinged and, making some good points, but in a way where you just don't want to be around him. But another way, you're thoroughly entertained by him because it's wrestling, and he's a very entertaining heel. And Sammy, no disrespect, but it took 10 years and it didn't happen. So maybe take a hint. Great line. That was just fantastic. And, Finn Balor came back and said, well, Sammy took you more than 10 years to even smell a championship, so maybe you should take a hint. Sammy's line was better, but at least Finn had something to come back with. And Ian Balor says, I got injured. My title reign ended. You got injured because, you got hurt.
He did kind of get screwed, though. When Finn was saying he didn't get screwed, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, you could make an argument he gets put on a different show with no notice. He gets a mystery opponent. Like whatever. Anyway,
fair. For the sake of the story, like I say, you get to choose what you talk about.
Right.
I think you want Finn to say, I got hurt. That's why I lost the title. Sammy, you got hurt. You didn't lose the title because you got hurt or you got screwed, but because you lost.
Yeah.
And then the fans chant, Sammy sucks, and that's what you want from that moment. So they chose the facts that would get them the chant, which was Sammy sucks. They got it. And I love Sammy going, those sound like fighting words. And if I didn't respect you so much, I'd take you down right now. That's just classic. I don't know. That's just Sammy gets it. And he's doing a good job. But then, Gunther, comes out and does make them look less than. And I didn't like that aspect of it. I think they saw it as a conduit to get Aldis to run out and brawl and have an intense fight. But if Cody and Punk are going to do it, I don't know. It's good to show fans Aldis can throw a punch and take a bump and has a move. So I get that, and I don't know how else you get there. There are other ways to get there. It just hadn't crossed my mind what it would be that would justify it, other than Aldis as a GM who has in his mind there's a right way to do things. Gunther shouldn't be attacking two wrestlers who have a match tomorrow. Let me run out there. Now I can't just yell at him. I'm not limited to threatening fines and suspensions. I can actually beat him up for doing this. So I get the rationale and the logic, but the side effect is Sammy and Finn kind of look like they were less than going into a number one contendership match. So that's the downside.
And I will.
They didn't have a grueling match first. Had they had a grueling match, it'd be one thing, but they just, were there.
Go ahead, Javier. Sorry.
One mitigating thing was at least Gunther had made it clear that he was going to go after them, that he was not going to abide a number one contender. So, that also alleviates things a little bit, because when it first happened, I was really against it. And then I'm like, okay, well, Gunther did say I'm going to go after and ruin the match for whoever does it. And I also did like that they do get up and then go after Gunther's, in particular Balor doing the run down getting caught, on the camera running down the ramp. So at least they got their, something back. So I think they were cognizant of that. And I think they did some stuff to mitigate it, but it's still something that sticks in the craw where, it does seem like they're lesser than, it's a lesser match than Aldis and Gunther.
And they looked like flies kind of buzzing around him, and he was swatting them off. I didn't like that the look there, but I did think that before that segment that Finn Balor looked as great as a babyface as I'd seen him look since leaving the Judgment Day. His promo was on point, back and forth. Like Sammy, we've heaped praise on the past few weeks. He's great on the mic. He really believes in his character. He sells his character. Finn has to play off that. I thought he did a great job. So just giving him his flowers there. Wade's got a thought on this. You're on mute, Wade.
I put my finger up, so I don't want you might flow into a final topic or something like that. I want to throw a couple chat comments up about this segment first. Derek Mitchell says, of course, Gunther thinks he's rightful number one contender. I didn't mind him bigfooting Sammy and Finn. It should be expected as Gunther's character. It would have been odd if he didn't attack both of them. Sean Plitchta says, I disagree about Gunther attacking. It made sense for his character. And Derek said, yeah, I totally agree with you about Gunther. You expect him to attack both guys. Sean adds, Wade, it made total sense why he did it. They don't look less than at all. It made sense for Gunther's character. So I want to clarify here. It makes sense for Gunther's character. That's not our point. I don't think anyone's made that point, Sean, that it does make sense for him. The idea is, does it make sense to book him in a segment that does, where one guy fresh is beating up two fresh guys who are both fighting to be number one contender for a world title? Does that, it makes sense for Gunther, but it also wasn't needed. It's not like, wait, Sammy and Finn are arguing, where's Gunther? Like, no one was thinking that. It's like you weren't they weren't obliged to do it to protect the integrity of Gunther's heel character. They didn't run out there and attack him. They didn't call him out. So our point isn't it didn't make sense for Gunther. Our point is, by doing something that made sense for Gunther, you paid a price that might not have been necessary to tell the story with Gunther if you told the story with Gunther in a different way. Is that fair, Crofton?
Absolutely. And I totally think it makes sense for the Gunther character. I just think I wouldn't have booked this. I would have booked, like, also he's looking past Nick Aldis, and I get it. Nick Aldis is the GM, but that's the match that's booked for SummerSlam. And I would have preferred, say tonight, had this segment happened with Finn and Sammy, and then following it, Nick Aldis came out to cut a promo in the middle of the ring to like sell who he is as a wrestler, and you could even have that package that they showed backstage as well. I don't think
throw to it from the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
And Gunther can walk out and go, enough of the past, enough of the minor leagues.
Yeah, and then beat up on Aldis, right? Like, that's the match that they're trying to sell for their second biggest show of the year. So it's just, again, I do agree, like, Gunther as a character makes sense for him to attack these guys. I just don't think that this is how I would have booked the show to go, because it makes the potential next number one contenders look less than. The last topic I wanted to talk about was just Haku coming back with the MFTs. And I will be honest, I was concerned for the MFTs. I thought when they split with Solo that they might be joining future endeavors. Like, it really did not. I'm not sure what the plan was, and they'd already lost half their crew, and so they had mentioned the Elders previously, and to see Haku on screen as a character, I think is cool, and I think is something that really would have. I am surprised that they didn't do more of in the first generation of the Bloodline, like have folks come on screen, like that we're familiar with in the greater universe of the Bloodline. But I think this will be good for them. I'm not sure about his mobility. He looked a little bit like, I don't know. He looks great visually. I'm not sure how what his age is and how well he moves in the ring, or if this is a tall ask for him to travel around with them. I thought at first he was just going to be in that segment on the screen and not actually be there. When he was actually there, I was like, oh my God, he is going to be part of this moving forward. But I liked it. I'm wondering what you guys thought.
Javier?
Well, back to the opening segment, the Tongan thing made me happy for Balor, because I'm pulling for Balor to win on SummerSlam. But because he still had, he had been feuding with Tama Tonga and Tala, I'm like, well, Balor can lose and then just go back to that feud. But because it looks like the Tongans are moving on, I'm like, hey, now Balor doesn't have anything, so maybe he might win. So that made me happy, because I'd like for them to give him a hard push and see what he can do, because I think he's very charismatic. He's still got something, and maybe you could go back to him winning and that and fix history, so to speak. He might be someone that one of your top guys. So I'm hoping he gets at least a chance to taste that. As far as the Tongans concerned, they obviously have they have belief in Tama Tonga. He's got charisma. He fits the stuff that they're doing, and I like the idea of them just going, just being a straight up tag team, with the caveat, if they start pushing their tag team division, which has completely vanished off the face of the earth. So I'm looking forward to what they do with them. I'm hoping that the War Raiders get. It looks like they're trying to do something with the War Raiders too. Only problem is that War Raiders have been around for such a long period of time that mystique of invincibility. I know they're trying to catch that again, but it's hard. particularly when the other on the 4th of July one they did the eating thing again. A callback to the turkey leg back during the performance center time. But yeah.
Javier, are we supposed to be cheering the Tongans attacking the War Raiders or resenting them for attacking Damian Priest and R-Truth or something else?
We're just supposed to be afraid of them. So,
Yeah.
their aggression is supposed to be a negative trait, but at the same time, the fact that they're going to stick up, they're going to attack a strong team like the Viking Raiders is also a positive trait. The way they're talking seems it's negative. So I think we're supposed to believe they're negative. They're meaning, the heels or,
they're the heels.
Yeah. So I think that's what
Why
they're
are they the
for.
heels?
Because everyone else is babyface.
And I don't know. I don't know where the War Raiders are.
I don't know that always is the rule, Crofton, but go ahead.
No, but I mean in this match specifically, like the Damian Priest and R-Truth are clearly babyface, unless I've misread comedy. And then the Viking War Raiders
don't confuse me.
have been presented as honorable challengers. They go backstage, they meet R-Truth and Damian. Are you ready to fight for these titles? Let's do a title for title match. And so I don't they're all good guys, and then these bad guys come in, ruin the match, and beat them up. I thought they were presented as heels.
No, I think that answers my question fairly. Why should we they're talking about it's sort of like Corbin. Hey, he has all these medals and he's a savvy veteran. Haku, dangerous. He's one of the these respected veterans, an elder who is gonna why are we okay, they interfered in a match, but why do we dislike them? I mean, Tama hasn't seen, they turned on Solo when Solo was a heel. Solo's a face now, is that right? I mean, or is it too ambiguous to say when they broke up a Solo?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I think
okay.
If we get to talk about them, I have a lot of that's the complicated one.
Yeah, my point is that when I don't believe Tama and Tala have come across as definitive heels. There could be something that just is.
Well, they attack Balor, yeah. They attack Balor, and you're right. They did say. That he had been thinking about it, and I talked to the elders, and then he attacked them. And
you're right. So that is something I forgot. I wasn't incorporating in. So, okay. So hopefully WWE does their job and doesn't leave me, if I forget one angle, looking at them going, well, they're kind of cool. They're kind of badass. Right now tonight, they were cool and badass with this elder. That's
true.
Kind of my larger point. And so it's I don't know. Just I'm craving them choosing things that emphasize traits that will allow us, that will encourage my emotions to naturally move to boo them. And tonight I was like, oh, how cool. They're badasses. They're going to bring the tag division back up and they're going to shake things up. So anyway, I don't belabor that.
I would say, Wade, that is almost, your reaction there is testament to how little they have done with the War Viking Raiders. They essentially the fact that you don't know what their alignment is, to me, makes perfect sense. They're barely on TV, and when they are, it's in backstage segments, or now they're in AAA, or they're not in so for me, and this was giving them some grace. The filmed show before a 2-night stadium pay-per-view. So a lot of people are on the card for that. So obviously they were going to have matches tonight with people that might not normally have a match on SmackDown, or I don't think there was any build for this title versus title match. So I'm really in terms of promotion. So I'm really glad that it was a schmoz finish, because if they had just given away a title versus title match that had led to the one team having both titles without even advertising it or promoting it previously, I would have been very frustrated by that. But the fact that it ended the way that it did and is leading to something else, I think is better. And I also didn't like the idea of one team having both those titles.
Oh yeah. That was are they really going to merge them? So a couple chat comments, and then I have something to say. Azan says they attacked Finn Balor. Yes. We brought that up to him. We'll give him credit. King of the North, PW, says, why are they heels for taking the best route to success? If you're talking about the Tongans, it should be the best route to success should not be attacking people outside of the ring. Like that the culture of the presentation has dulled people's senses to the idea that an attack outside the ring should be frowned upon. Like there's a ring, there's ropes, you step in, the bell rings, and then you fight. You don't sneak attack two pairs of wrestlers that are exhausted. I don't know if that's what King of the North was referring to, but Sean Plisha says, Azan, they've definitely been acting heelish. Who knows what WWE as a whole, though. And Goodfella says, I know the Viking Raiders more from NXT and AAA. And Darrell says War Raiders are the heel. They've been shown as heels building up to this match, and they are heels in AAA. They also shoved the ref out of the way when they were double teaming. Like that was that's something generally babyfaces don't do. They can show a temper, but that felt more like a heel spot than the referee was a heel. So anyway, there's some.
So did Priest in R-Truth though.
What's that?
So did Priest in R-Truth. There was 2 shoves to the ref.
Okay,
that's what led to the DQ.
Was it a double DQ or did Priest and Truth win by DQ?
I don't know what they just ring the bell, Wade.
Yeah,
how the hell am I supposed to know?
The match is thrown out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
all right, my head hurts.
Yeah, no, I hear.
Yeah.
I totally understand why that would be the case.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, both for your time. And I'll let Darrell on and whoever else is calling. Thanks for a great show as always. Great to talk to you both.
Thanks, Robin. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Always good. King of the North PW says, what happened to the Viking experience? They dropped that name because it sounded like what somebody dressed as a Viking after a few too many drinks would say to a woman at a bar or a guy. Hey, would you like a Viking experience? Like it just was so lame.
The name of their finisher, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's better than it being the team name because at least it is something. It's not left to your imagination.
Well, you said it sounded like a ride, so they take them.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. All right, let's bring Darrell into the conversation. Darrell, welcome. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. What's up?
All right, how y'all guys doing tonight? Enjoying y'all conversation.
Good, thanks. We try.
Yeah, tonight. But yeah, piggyback on what y'all was just talking about. I think they were just bringing on the MFTs when they brought out Haku, just to bring a new type of toughness in a direction for them to go into. So right now we don't know what they are until they show us who they are. But they was just trying to go after gold. Hopefully they put some emphasis back on the tag team division. Maybe.
My argument is I don't like that 2 wrestlers attacking 4 wrestlers after they just had a match can be seen as neutral and to be determined. I think that should be a heel move unless those teams did something to you. I think that should be built into the culture and embedded in how fans are expected to interpret things. Number 2, that's not the culture of the presentation for 20 years. So the fans, of course, are going to be like, these guys are badasses and they're cool. They're asserting themselves. And, what I think Michael Cole, like commentary lately is rewarding heels and baby faces for things that whatever. So my point is they're coming across as badass, doing what they need to do to insert themselves into the title picture, to use Michael Cole's quote about the women's tag division. So how about we figure out what we want fans to think is honorable and dishonorable, and how about if they're going to be badasses, let's make sure we frame them as heels. If they're going to be baby faces by attacking wrestlers, let's make sure that they're attacking heels who have done something wrong and they had it coming, instead of just, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Wouldn't it be cool if cops got beat up? No, it's not cool if there's no real world ramifications for it. It's just stupid. It's a Looney Tunes Roadrunner cartoon. An anvil hits his head, but he's back in the next scene. It's stupid. This feels like they just want them to be badasses, and I'm an advocate on almost every circumstance. Let's give people a reason to either cheer and root for them or root against them. And tonight I didn't see that. And wherever they land, there's going to be things that are contradictory because they're cool badasses who are about to kick ass, and they got Haku in their corner. To me, it's why the Road Warriors in the mid 1980s in the AWA, the fans cheered them because they're cool badasses. They're supposed to be heels, and fans are like, oh, we like these guys. Hulk Hogan came in as a heel to the AWA before Hulkamania was born. The fans are like, this guy's pretty charismatic. He's a movie star. Let's cheer this guy. So whatever they're trying to do, if they're even thinking it through, they might not have a choice. The fans might cheer them. I don't want to be a babyface opponent to them right now. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I don't think there are many babyface teams for really, for you really get to them, particularly on SmackDown. I mean, Priest and R-Truth are just like a tag team of convenience for the time being. Long convenience, but that's what they are. You know, I'm already missing the Motor City Machine Guns, because those are people that you could actually have gotten people to cheer for against the Tongans, but I don't see any other group except for maybe the Street Profits.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe you might need them to be badasses and just bring team after team after them. And like you were saying earlier, Wade, one match, just give people one match, one feud, and just keep going on until you can build something up that feels like a robbery, because that's a story to be told too. See who can build up to fight them to push them to something else.
King of the North says you have to attack people in this company to get title matches because you don't earn those by winning matches. And Sean Plichta says, please just define who they are. Derek Mitchell points out, by the way, that for those wondering, Haku is 67 years old. While we're at it, just hang on a second, Darrell. We had a super chat that I want to honor and get to not too late. Derek said earlier, thank you, Derek, for the super chat. Everyone's invited to super chat. After this weekend's two-night SummerSlam, there's a Sunday night main event on September 6th, Money in the Bank on October 10th, and then Survivor Series War Games on November 28th for the remainder of the year. So things lighten up to a degree after this early SummerSlam. And then was there another super chat? Yeah, Derek Mitchell. Thank you again, Derek. You're super generous. Appreciate it. I'd like to see Cody turn heel one day and not wait almost 20 years like Cena did at Elimination Chamber, and it fizzled after that. I wish I put that in earlier. Maybe we'll cover that again later, Derek, because, yes, you don't want to wait too long. But, you know, I'm in no rush, but there is something compelling about Cody in his prime being a heel, because I think he has it in him. He's been resistant. So don't wait too long. Make some money with it and have it be when Cody's still good and it's not like a desperation move. But I also don't feel there's a rush. Darrell, do you want to comment on that and then get back to whatever you're going to say otherwise?
Yes, I sure would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Cody as a heel, but when it comes to just changing him, I need somebody who can fill in his spot. And once he go heel, you need a face or a baby face who can rival him to a point. So don't be something quick and then you don't get the fans turning him back babyface, because now you done got he seem more cooler now because he a heel and stuff like that. I don't want that back and forth. I want them to have somebody who can take his spot, and then when you turn him over, he can be a heel and have somebody to go against and compare contrast with, and let him be the only person who turned that whole year. If they go and he's the only person who turned that whole year, and that's the only turn that whole year, they'll be good with me.
I like it. Another super chat from Derek. Based on the two world title matches at SummerSlam, Cody versus Punk and Roman versus Seth, I'm fairly certain that neither champion will drop their respective titles. Derek, thank you again for the super chat. Mean that very much. So Punk and Roman retain? I mean, Javier, I haven't read your piece, but I think you've indicated that's where you're leaning.
Yeah, I have. Punk and Roman. I do have a scenario for Seth winning, though.
In your column.
Yes.
Let's tease that. Read it in the column. We're running long. There's a reason to read your column beyond that, but that's a good hook. I'm looking forward to reading that later. Darrell.
Let me double check.
You better add it. You better resend a revised copy after that promise. Darrell, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they both retain. Right now, you got something with Punk. And tonight, you start building stories for after SummerSlam with what you allow Punk to say in the ring and what he was doing backstage. Like when he met up with Trick and stuff like that, he's been building stories for himself and that title. Also, and I like that portion of, and that's something that I wanted to talk about was the stories. I think tonight with Punk, they was able to tell a story that further that match that made it more appealing, but they also with him told stories for after SummerSlam that you can go into, even with let's say if Sammy wins or Finn wins or something like that or whoever. I like what they did tonight, and that's what I want them to get back to instead of being all meta and saying the other things. I want to get back to that. There's nothing wrong with that, and making the title feel important. the title feel important, that now that match feels even more important.
Javier.
I did write it in the thing. I'm sorry. I was looking it up because I didn't want to disappoint anybody.
Good. What about Drell's point?
What was it? I'm sorry.
Drell, throw it to Javier.
Yeah,
reading his own piece. I'm trying to let him go first on this.
I'm sorry.
No, it happens. It happens.
I tried to do two things at once. I can't walk and chew gum. So.
Sean has a super chat. Hold on, Darrell. Everyone go VIP, and Derek, please call in one of these days. SummerSlam can be very good, and I truly hope it delivers. Give Io and Liv enough time. Thank you, Sean, for the super chat. Much appreciated. All right, Darrell, you've gathered your thoughts. Javier is paying attention. What would you like Javier to respond to? And then I will also ultimately chime in.
The story that they were telling tonight, the resetting of the story, how they used Punk to increase the story with him and Cody and set a story for that title that he's holding, and he probably hold after SummerSlam, and stories going forward with that because he built up stories all night with new challengers and everything. How you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, particularly since they've set up, CM Punk did a good thing where when he listed all the people he wanted to face, so that already has your idea of that. You have the Trick Williams crossover, particularly since he already has a title and they played the whole idea of two belts Trick. All that stuff, like it's been mentioned before, it makes the title seem as the goal that's important. They had done that a lot when it was the title on Raw. And yeah, it makes the title important. The thing with on Raw, because you could also have it where the guy's important. So, Okada in New Japan, for example, he was a champion, and so it wasn't just winning the title; it was also beating Okada. With Roman Reigns and his long run, it wasn't just winning the title; it was also beating Roman Reigns. So it's one of those cases of sometimes the title makes the man, sometimes the man makes the title kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I talked earlier about it quite a bit, Darrell, but we saw in AEW, multiple challenge, the MJF talking about multiple challengers lining things up. I think they have made us think about Cody Punk being important, not just because of Cody Punk, but because we have in our mind potential matches afterwards, and they're completely different depending on who wins. I don't know that we're for sure going to get a clean finish and move right on to it. Like Goodfellas says, Trick versus Punk, I'm here for. I think there is an excitement to see fresh matches and fresh opponents. And they're teasing us with it, and I think they ought to deliver on that. Anything else you want to say on that, Darrell? Or respond to?
Oh, no, not really. I can go
because
this transition to the next thing.
Yeah.
I think they should go ahead and put the interim title back on probably Jade, because right now that women's division, she has been the division, even though they had Rhea off TV. She has been the circuit, the piece that everybody can circle around, the sun that everybody can go around. And also she has made it to a point where you got people who really cheering for Charlotte and want to see Charlotte do something that they've been trying to do with her for years and make her feel like a babyface. And I think you have a challenger with stories to tell where Charlotte can be chasing her, even though if you're going to do the interim champion versus the champion, even if you let Jay win and give Rhea some time off so she can heal completely, you got a ready-made story of Charlotte chasing her, and then once Alexa Bliss come back, there go another challenger until you can continue to do challenges and stories. That was the theme for me tonight. That's why I want to see, and they gave them a big showcase outside of everybody else who in that match, that ladder match. It seemed like those two were the biggest stories
for sure
of that match. What y'all think?
It made me think watching that, how much stronger would SummerSlam feel if they didn't just have a 5 or 6 person ladder match for some phony title that we don't need. Instead, it was just Charlotte Jade. No title needed. That could have been the stip. No championship needed. It's just an epic match between these two made for posters. superstars in the women's division. Jade's an example of somebody who fans kind of wanted to cheer, but they found a way to get her booed. And Charlotte's an example of somebody who fans kind of wanted to boo, but they found a way to get her cheered. You can steer people. And I think BFAB and Michin have helped in that regard. And obviously, Alexa Bliss has helped Charlotte. I think that match and the angle they did tonight made me want to see a one-on-one match with them. Javier, your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, we're going to get to that. I don't think it's going to be for the championship or the interim championship. I think they're going to both take each other out of the match. And I'm thinking that it opens up to either Chelsea for a feel-good kind of thing, or Lash Legend. That's why I had to wait for this to come out, because I think I think that whoever comes out, because I think the reason to go with the interim thing is because I think Rhea's going to come back rather soon. Is she just couldn't make it to SummerSlam? So I'm thinking if you know Lash Legend, someone you could put it on her, see what she can do, and then just have Rhea beat her. Because I think ultimately we're going to end up seeing a champion versus champion, Io versus Rhea down the road. So I think it's just going to be I think this is just going to be a whoever's going to win the interim is legit just going to be a interim title. And you can see what you got with Lash Legend in that case, particularly since Nia Jax was screwed over twice over the whole situation. That's her tag team partner. So, you got stuff you can do there. So that's why I have a Green as my number, as Green and Lash is the two most likely to come out of that. So
in the chat, Goodfella says, give me Chelsea, please. A short run is fine. Goodfella says, yeah, Jade and Flair take each other out. Sean Plichta says, yeah, I'm okay with that. Chelsea is just a blast. Piledriver Pete says, I'd be so happy for a Chelsea Green title run, no matter how long. Piledriver Pete adds, she could and would brag about being a former champion forever. Sean Plichta notes, if Charlotte has a match like that, you better deliver because her TV matches have not been good. Goodfella says, let her be the queen of handling press, meaning Chelsea. Give her respect too. I'm a big fan of her art. And Mafe says, the Chelsea chat, you all are getting my hopes up. Okay, how do we reconcile all that hope with how they treated her in the tag match with Tiffany against Michin and BFAB, where in 7 minutes, she was kind of like not treated as a serious, a serious threat. And Barrett said it was basically a mugging. They're not framing her as like someone you would expect to be champion. Now, sometimes that can be a feature, not a flaw, in how they frame somebody. But I don't know. I mean, Javier is would Chelsea just seem like a fluke champion and she can't even believe she's holding it and it's just a matter of time before she loses it? And that would be the story, because they're not exactly telling a story in the ring of, look, she's getting better. Look at that move. She's manhandling the bigger BFAB. Like the commentary isn't telling that story.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a fluke. You have drama between her and Stratton because now, they're I don't buy the fact that Stratton actually is her friend. So you could have jealousy there. And what is...
Javier, do you think you missed a chapter there, by the way? Like in Tiffany suddenly just loving Chelsea as her best friend? Because it feels like we missed a chapter too.
Because I actually had to go back and fix the primer because I wrote I wrote that are they, they have like sort of like almost a budding friendship kind of coming out, and they came out and matching, and then commentary was like, oh yeah, they're best of friends. I'm like, did I miss something? It's
like a guy asks some woman out, and it's like she's like, I don't know, and then they go on a first date and like, how was it? I'm not sure. And then you see her the next week day at work, and she's like, oh, here's my wedding invitation. Like, where did that come from? You weren't sure about this guy like 24 hours ago. Like, Tiffany wasn't sure about her a week ago, and suddenly they're just playing patty cake and delighted with each other's company. So
I'm glad I'm glad I was not the only one, particularly since I binged everything.
Yep. All right. Darrell, comment on any of that or move on to whatever you want. Yep.
And I think they're going to use that friendship as a story that they telling with Blake Monroe coming at Tiffany and beating both of them up and using that as something that she can use. So that's what I see.
That was that felt like that was going to lead to a chapter that was missing before they just suddenly were besties. That's the point. Like, I get they definitely were telling that story, and then it's like, literally, if I was, did I put the bookmark in the wrong place in the book the last time I set it down is what I thought, when all of a sudden they're just best friends. And I'm like, maybe it was online and I'm supposed to have seen like whatever. No, not a huge deal. It's just kind of, I'm not the only one pointing that out, but I thought Javier speeding through stuff, or not speeding, but, catching up, he'd be like, wait, did I miss something? Because it's all fresh in your mind.
Yeah, I thought I did too. I'm like, weird.
Hey, I've been watching it, and I thought I missed something. I thought somebody tore a couple of pages out the book, and I didn't know it was ever there. But
maybe it's insincere, and that's part of it. And Chelsea's being taken for right. By the way, JC Scooby says Chelsea would win a ladder match and be champ. They both he'd when she didn't win Money in the Bank several years ago. Not sure what word is missing there. Powder for Pete says Chelsea's in-ring is not the best, but the people have chosen her. And Sadler says Chelsea's a great character, but is she a top champion material? It'd be like R-Truth winning the WWE title, if we're to be honest, in kayfabe. Yes,
well, it's the interim title, so it doesn't really count.
That's a good point.
That's why you get away with giving it to her.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I get what you're saying in a certain sense, but it's still Chelsea holding a title that she won. But if you say, well, in a ladder match, you can win by fluke. And the story is she's interim champ because she won a match with a fluke when everyone else just knocked each other down. And she's holding it like, I can't believe, like if a t-shirt gets thrown into a crowd and some lady wasn't paying attention, it's just, oh, I got the t-shirt. Like, she almost look at it like, where did this come from? But I'm delighted by it. And then the story is, she's not going to keep it. And somehow she manages to until Tiffy turns on her or something because Tiffy's jealous. I don't know. Now I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let's see. Tiffany, Derek Mitchell says, Tiffany was putting off Chelsea like Warren Winslow did to Steve Urkel on Family Matters. That's for other people to get because I don't. All right. Sadler says it's still Chelsea being top champ, interim or not. That's kind of my point. It's like you can say the title doesn't matter as much, so it's not part of the lineage, but it's still a story you're telling for somebody that wins. But because it's a ladder match, she's not beating Jade one on. I don't know. I am not against it. I am more trying to temper too much hope, but I don't know. It could be they're trying to throw you off the scent. Somebody said that. Yeah, Sean Plish just said taking you away from the scent, Wade. So there we are. All right, Darrell, what else for us?
Yeah. So y'all cover really all the topics. I like the thing with Nick. I like the showing some of his TNA, some of them videos from TNA and stuff like that. But I think you and Todd talked about this. The moment that Nick Aldis need, I think we got that tonight when he was able to amp up a little bit and then put the Cloverleaf on Gunther. I think that was much needed, and you seen the crowd pop for that and get behind him, and that was needed, and they did it at the right time. So outside of Gunther coming in there and trying to big nose the number one contender guys, that part right there, all this was needed for him, and that made that match even bigger.
I liked a lot what they did with all this. I liked the video. I liked the video package. I liked that he showed he can go, he can fight, and I like in the video. I liked him talking about like I wanted to be the best GM, but it's not. He did cover the base. Like I'm a wrestler and I can still be a wrestler. I thought it was. Javier, did you speak on that yet? Like did the actual words he gave, and were you craving this like I was this moment with all this establishing him in current canon with current viewers, who he is and what he's done, and I thought they did just enough and not too much.
I was because I also listened to the Fix earlier today. I was actually thinking, wow, Wade and Todd are going to be happy because it filled both of the things that they wanted from it. So yeah, I had that thought.
Did you also want it?
I didn't need it, but I appreciate it, and it does add to the actual stuff that's going on. The only thing that was a little bit weird was when they're doing the package. The way that Aldis says, I've won some championships, the way it was kind of like very meek. Like, I don't want to draw attention that I won championships that were not the WWE one, because I don't want to, give any respect to any other company I won championships in. That was a little bit, that's kind of like what I read into that. But
yeah. Yeah, I was fine with it. I mean, I probably would have come up with something slightly more elaborate, but I don't know if it would have served the goal any better than what they did with 24 hours notice, I guess. Or yeah. So anyway, yeah, go ahead, Darrell.
Yeah, but I liked it at all.
Yeah.
This was needed. He needed this. You can even go back to this match afterwards because of that. So
Yep.
I like that. But that was everything. Y'all talked about everything, and just a preview.
Cool.
Can you give a preview of what y'all think about night one? Since most of the guys tonight it's on night one.
We're going to that after we're done with your call. I'm gonna throw to Javier and we'll kind of bounce off each other a bit. So
got you.
That's coming up. Yeah. Thanks, Darrell.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Awesome. All right. So, by the way, quick comment here. Whoops. Goodfellas says, I think Nick Aldis should call his insurance company and see what his policy on chest damage is. Gene Albert says they only went 2 hours tonight. Was there a reason for that? They've been 2 hours for a few weeks. Every 6 months they switch between 2 hours and 3 hours, and it is permanently until the end of the year. A 2 hour show. But I understand people being thrown off by that. Yes, it's moving along quickly. 7-Eleven says night one is easily the more must-see show for me. One might say the only must-see show of the two. If you only had budget to go to one night and you had bought tickets for night two because you thought they always make that better, you might be seeing what you can get for it on the secondary market and move into night one. Sean Plish says night two can be sneaky good, but night one is definitely way better. Derek Mitchell says people are going to be surprised at Nick Aldis's physique, the way Mr. McMahon looked jacked against Stone Cold in 1998. Yeah, I'm curious. Does he just show up in boots and trunks? Is he just like Nick Bockwinkel out there, no frills, just maybe a ring jacket or something? Or does he wear a suit because maybe he's not in the shape he once was and he's insecure about it? What do you anticipate, Javier?
No, I think he's going to come in dressed like he usually does with the long trousers and the.
You do?
His I think he has he'll come on his regular getup.
Yeah.
Unless he really let himself go. I mean, he fills out that his suit off well. So I'm assuming he's in good shape. So.
Yeah. All right, so we'll wrap up, just kind of going semi-rapid fire, but I know you got some stuff to say about some things we haven't gotten to on tonight's show. By the way, actually, let me just look. On tonight's show, I just want to see if there's anything else we didn't cover, Javier, that you want to talk about that we haven't yet. I'm scrolling through as I'm talking, and it does look like we covered everything except Ray Phoenix and JD McDonough. And then maybe your quick thoughts on that, and also just Julia losing so decisively and kind of being sort of buried or defined down. So quick thoughts on those two, and then we'll get to the preview.
Yeah, I mean, the Julia thing, I mean, she hasn't really worked out in the places that they've given her. I don't think they also haven't given her the same like treatment that they've done some other people that have issues speaking. I'd send her to NXT maybe for a bit and then bring her back, because I don't think she's, I think she's a good worker. So, and give her some time in NXT or something, let people forget and give her another shot if you can do that. But I don't know, maybe she might be one of the ones on the cutting block. So,
how about JD?
And the JD thing, well, I mean, more the Phoenix thing is like for about 5 minutes into the match before I realized that was Ray Phoenix, not Dragon Lee.
Yep, that happens to me.
It is.
It's not because I can't. If I think about it, I can tell the difference what brand, what night. But like they don't do enough to differentiate them. Where you just go with your first thought.
And Lee's mask has become more like Phoenix's mask too. It's not as draconic as it used to be. So that's why because that's obviously what you're looking at. But yeah, I mean it was fun. That was your work rate match. And it was fine. But it ultimately means nothing. I hate to say for what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Except for the Danhausen stuff, but we'll talk about that now.
Yeah, yep. So that'll be built in here. So let's talk about night one. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes. Anything you want to add to that? The hype or
no,
the prediction? Okay.
No, I think we pretty much hit that one.
We spent a lot of time on that. Yep. So Oba and Brock, the match you're looking most forward to.
Yeah, I mean it's I'm not looking forward to this as much as it was with their first encounter. WWE sometimes does that when they try to go to the well way too many times. And I don't think they need Hell in the Cell for the type of wrestlers they are. But hey, particularly if you're not going to get really violent, which is something we don't do anymore. But other than that, I mean, it's. I'm excited because it's going to be the crowning of Obafemi. It's all about making Obafemi the next massive star. So that's why I'm excited for it.
Yep. Is there what happens with Brock? Is Oba beats Brock rolls out of the ring, Oba's music plays, and that's it? Is there a moment where they transition to something else, and maybe this is a Lesnar babyface turn because he's in his hometown, so maybe there's some, hey, Oba, he says, I respect you. He raises his arm, fans like, oh my God, watch out, Oba. And Lesnar goes, no, seriously, this guy's the next big thing. He crowns him, fans cheer, they have a dual moment together. Paul Heyman's like, what are you doing? And there's different scenarios, and I wouldn't bring it up except for two reasons. We had the leverage fake pseudo retirement thing that sort of Lesnar said was, well, I kind of thought I was retired, but then I couldn't let that be the last thing. But it's sort of hiding from what it probably really was, a little negotiating, hot shot. So you have that, and you're like, okay, are they going to try to have a moment with Lesnar that kind of reframes things? And mostly it's in Minneapolis. It's in his home market. That is not the same stadium, but it is the same spot on a map where I was in the Metrodome and watched him play a preseason game for the Vikings, in a Viking uniform. Like there's history here with him and the Vikings and him in Minnesota. If you were going to try to turn him in order to tell a story with somebody else down the line, I've thrown that out there as something that's just in the back of my mind as a possibility. They might think so anyway, I'll throw it to you. Enough of me talking about it.
I don't think they're going to move to another story. Whoever showed the upcoming pay-per-views, I don't see him slotting into that. So he'll go back to his farm for the time being. So the question, the big question, there's no drama I don't think there's any drama that Obafemi's not winning. Obafemi,
right.
So I think that's fait accompli. The big question is what you're mentioning is like what's up with Brock Lesnar. I do think what will end up happening is we're leaving it one of those where he leaves and thanks the crowd and everything. I don't think he'll completely show leave the boots and make it like a big dramatic thing. But I think he'll leave you with the impression this might be the last time we see him. But leaving the door open if he wants to show up on a Saudi show or next year's WrestleMania. I think.
Who do you want to see him against? Or who do you think they can market him against? Either whatever happens this weekend.
I mean, if you could get Braun Breaker, I'd look for who are going to be your stars for the future, which would be Brock Lesnar, Braun Breaker, maybe Trick. Would probably be the top three, because I mean obviously you're putting Obafemi over on this, and off chance if you want to get another match with Reigns, because I know Reigns I think is kind of like in the semi-retirement tour too.
Yeah, Powder of Pete suggests Gunther.
Oh, and Gunther, Gunther, because Gunther would make sense if he's the one who retires him. I don't know if Lesnar is up for that, because ultimately it's going to be his decision whether they do that or not.
Yeah. And you can't say he retired from full-time competition because he did that years ago. All right. So going from there, Liv Morgan and Io Sky women's world title match. I think this will have a huge, genuine babyface pop for Io Sky, who punches above her weight in terms of the genuine positive reaction she gets is more than WWE seems like they're hoping for or planning for. People just like her. She's really good. Any thoughts on what you expect here? Does she just win and then we get to, like you said, maybe Rhea?
Yeah, Io. I have Io winning. The only question mark is if they, because I think Vakir is due back. If they want to go back to Liv and Vakir with the title involved, they could do it without the title, so that Stephanie can get her revenge on her. I was thinking that Lyra, because I actually wrote that Lyra could be an opponent for Io Sky, but it looks like Lyra has been more eyeing the Intercontinental Champion.
Mm-hmm. So. All right, then 6 men, LA Knight solo, Royce against the Bloodline.
Okay. This was the one I have some stuff to say because this is the one I was talking about that it's taken forever. And the problem with that is that the piece that is missing is Roman Reigns a heel or a face? Because when he reforms the bloodline, right? The question is we haven't really seen whether the bloodline's going to be interfering in his matches or not, which is intrigue-wise, the Roman Reigns Seth Rollins match is the one that's most intriguing to me because of whether the bloodline is going to get involved in that match or not. If it's not and it's fair play, then we can safely say that this is a new version of Bloodline where they're not going to get involved in each other's matches. So, in which case they're the babyface, because LA Knight, who's one who's saying, "Hey, these are the people who screwed us over," he's basing his stuff on the stuff that happened previously. So, is he correct? Is his animosity towards Jay and Jimmy and the rest of the bloodline correct, or is he paranoid, as they've mentioned before? That domino hasn't dropped.
Right.
Solo, they're going after Solo to bring him back into the family. Solo's obviously making, you had asked, is Solo a babyface or not? Solo is basically manipulating, or not manipulating, he's making the enemy of my enemy is my friend with Keys and LA Knight, where again, depending on where the bloodline domino drops, I think will solidify whether he is a babyface or a heel. Same thing with Keys, because Keys' whole gimmick is that he's friends with Jacob, and he doesn't like seeing Jacob kowtowing to Reigns in the bloodline. So again, all this stuff that's individual makes sense, but until you get that, is the bloodline a heel faction or a face faction? It depends on whether LA Knight, Keys, and everybody else involved are right or wrong. So I'm interested in the storyline, but the problem is that I just binged all of that, and that's what I got out of it. If I'm watching it across the span of, I think it's been 3 months at least that this has been going on, and you don't have solidified who's on what side, and you're just seeing stuff happen, there's nothing going on. So while the story itself, for me, compacted, I understand, and it works for me, not everybody's going to binge it over, binge, what is it, like almost 20 hours of wrestling over the span of 2 days? So, yeah. I mean,
you are also asking a question that may not be one that they have any interest in addressing, because, this has been booked in this, it's ambiguity leads to ambivalence. The crowd likes LA Knight, but other than that, they're just looking around going, I kind of want to pop for Solo, but I like Jay, and I kind of want to pop for LA, but I kind of like Jay. It's just a mess. And then poor Royce Keys is part of this ambiguous situation where he's opposite the Usos and Jacob, who fans actually really like most of the time. They love, Jacob's the badass, Jay's the, eat, and all of a sudden Royce has to be opposite of them, trying to get himself over, and he's getting no response. So this has just been a mess. And so I do not have, and I'm not saying you have faith, but I believe I have even less confidence in you that there is going to be something that happens that makes sense and addresses who's because I don't think there is anything that I can come up with that we'll look back and go, oh, that was what they were planning all along, and it was a good decision, and now all the cards are in place. I haven't meditated on a mountain about it, so maybe there is something, like that I'm not thinking of. And my argument is I'm hopeful that they are cognizant of how unbearably ambiguous and contradictory our emotions are watching this. And it is a necessary evil to get to a payoff that will make us go, it was worth it. I don't know what that is, but I hope that they don't think this is just good, compelling storytelling because, whoa, nobody knows what to think. Isn't this great? We're all just yelling at each other. LA Knight's getting genuine pops. Don't undercut that with a heel turn. Jacob Fatu, people love. Let's get to it. Whatever we're going to do, he should be one of your top 3 baby faces in this company. And I would push him at the expense of spending Roman Reigns as a top babyface act and turning him full-fledged heel. But I don't think it's a horrible decision not to turn Roman Reigns heel. But to me, I think it's juicy. I think babyface Jacob Fatu having enough for Roman. That's a story I want to watch. Is it best for business? that's a whole, we can have a whole side discussion on that. But and then the Usos, it's like they got to choose what they're going to be. They're bouncing around. Jimmy was the level-headed one, then he's not. Jay is happy-go-lucky yeet, and now he's like, he's kind of petty and abrasive. Solo, we don't know, but he's kind of entertaining when he's riffing on people. So I kind of like him, but maybe he'll betray Knight. None of that to me. I'm not sitting here going, okay, it's one of these 2 or 3 scenarios. I don't see any scenario that makes sense of any of the journey we've been on, Javier. And I think it's part of that issue with WWE where there's just too much dismissing of the idea that, maybe we should be a little bit more clear about this, because I do think people don't want to dispassionately watch things. I think they want to be invested in an outcome.
Well, you mentioned that the faith I have in it. What puts me more on your level is also the fact that they are also changing on the fly too, because I usually, I don't like bringing up rumors when I read online and the social medias unless it's unless it's the only rumors is stuff that you bring because I know the work that you do. But they right now they're talking about like how with the babyface reaction that Solo's been getting that they might stretch that they weren't expecting that they might stretch that out. The reason he's getting that babyface reaction is because since people they're not attached to the character because the characters are ambivalent. Mm-hmm. You really can't be attached to
they're ambiguous.
Yeah. Well, no, I think ambivalent also works because like LA Knight, he respected Jay, but now that he's back with the Bloodline and he thinks that the Bloodline is the same thing as Bloodline 1.0, he's afraid that Bloodline 1.0 is going to be a problem. We don't know if it's true or not. We don't know if he's mistaken. So we don't know whether, you're right because the Bloodline's bad or no, because, there's a different flavor of Bloodline. So you don't know whether you want to be cheering for LA Knight to get, what he wants to do. You don't know if, because Jacob Fatu is sticking with Roman because he lost honorably. He's doing an honorable thing. That's a babyface thing to do, to follow the honor, even if you're working for a bad guy, because your word is more your bond. And Keys is trying to take him away from that. Now, is the reality Reigns going to be a good influence on Jacob Fatu? Because he was technically a good influence on Jay. Jay became main event because of what Roman did. So is Jacob Fatu getting put under Roman's wing a good thing for him? Well, then Keys is wrong for pulling him out. So again, until we know what it is, people are not going to be invested in whether you want to see Keys succeed in pulling out Jacob or not. So because you don't have any strong feelings on who you want to succeed, because you don't know what their ultimate motivations are, you're left with only cheering one of two things: the story, which is muddled, so you can't cheer the story either. So what you're left is who's entertaining me more. Exactly. And right now, Solo's the one that's most entertaining with his goofiness. So I'm reading online. Half of the stuff I get from wrestling Twitter is, you got to keep Solo babyface. If they turn him back heel, it'll be stupid. Everyone wants him to be babyface because he's charming, like you said. Yeah. And who else?
And I don't. Oh, go ahead.
And LA Knight, because LA Knight cuts great promos. Yep. Those are the people they're cheering for. Keys is out in the cold because he's not the same level of promos as the other two. Plus, we don't know him too well, so that's why he's getting tepid reactions. So what this comes down to is, I had a YouTube short up on this. It kind of said it. Like, WWE should just figure out know their fan base enough to know who do they like, and then position them against people who fans don't like. Amplify without needless contradictions what it is that makes people dislike some of your wrestlers and like other wrestlers. It shouldn't be Solo's entertaining. That's kind of the John Cena, I hope we entertained you tonight, where fans feel entitled to be entertained and they think it's their job to sit in the stands and decide what entertains them the most, and that's what they're going to root for. And it's a layer removed from that buy-in, which is, I just want to see Sammy lose. I just want to see Sammy win in Montreal. I want to see Sammy lose now. That's the peak fan experience, and WWE shouldn't lose their way because they're on wrestling Twitter constantly, and they're thinking, what will entertain the fans the most? They're answering, what will entertain the fans the most is not option A or B. It's over there behind the curtain, which is something else entirely, which is not what's most entertaining.
but it's who are fans predisposed to like. What can we do to amplify and intensify that so that they want to pay money to see them win, and then the opposite with the heels. So that should not be Solo's entertaining. Let's keep him babyface. The story should be what's a good story that we're telling that's going to lead to a heel face dynamic. And that might mean muting some things that are entertaining about Solo. Entertainment is not the goal, even though it's in the name of the company now. It is getting fans to buy in and be emotionally invested in an outcome. That might mean muting some of the things that are entertaining about some of these wrestlers. So anyway, okay, moving on. Oh,
the goal should have been, I think the goal should have been once Reigns won the title, the goal should have just have been, let's get the bloodline back together. You should have gotten the actual fans invested in wanting to get everybody back together. And that's been lost. Because I think ultimately
totally.
That's what you want.
Yep.
So and that's been lost because now you don't, because they want to complicate it, I think, to buy time. I think that's what they're doing. They're buying time to get to the position. But the problem is that the one question that had the mystery box, as they like calling it in Hollywood, the mystery box, it's been an entire season and we don't know what's in that box.
And I've talked about this. I think that what we're seeing now is a result of booking backwards from Survivor Series, and they just didn't have enough material, or it's not cogent enough in their heads to execute it in a way that is not just entertaining or interesting, but sensible and pulls you in emotionally, so you're buying into something and rooting for something and rooting against something. That's not happening. It is muddled. It's not flailing. Flailing was lead up to WrestleMania. They were flailing to try to spark interest, and the McAfee was the most prominent thing, but other things were flailing. This is just muddled. Just muddled going in. All right, I want to wrap up relatively soon here, so let's hit Gunther Aldis. Any additional thoughts on that?
No, I don't think we hit that.
Yep. So the Bellas and Paige against Fatal Influence. Any thoughts on that?
I don't really care, but it seems to be setting up Paige and Paige, the only one I want to talk about, Nick and Brie to challenge for the titles so they can win it, because that was what was supposed to happen originally.
All right. Night 2. Quick thoughts. Anything more on Trick and Corbin?
Nope.
All right. Sammy and Finn. Anything more on that?
Sammy and Finn. This was when I was writing the primer. This is the one I was least interested in, and they made it like probably the second most interesting match on what is a horrible night 2.
Yes, yes. Bearing the lead as we run through this. The women's 5-way ladder match for the interim title. We have Charlotte and Jade. We talked about Chelsea being sort of the dark horse that people are rooting for. Lash Legend getting a decisive win, which was smart. It's just unfortunate. It's the expense of Julia, if you believe Julia has more potential. And then Tiffany is just Tiffany. So any thoughts?
The what most tempers me with Chelsea Green winning is mainly that the feel-good win is going to be Gable, I think.
All right, Danhausen, Dom.
My prediction, I think that a lot of people are going to be angry. I think that's what I wrote. It's going to be a thing. Basically, everything Danhausen's been doing since then has been between mildly entertaining and just ultra cringe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a shame. And by the way, what happened to Miz?
Oh yeah, I
will say Kip, but
Kit Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What happened to them? They got electrocuted, and I don't think we've seen them since.
That's true. You know what's fun is I haven't thought about it. Do we care? No, they should. Maybe they are involved in this, and they're.
I don't even want to think about it. It really is one of those. I don't know. There's something about this.
They run off with the money.
Wrong freaking way. And you know me. I'm into this crazy stuff. And I'm into the more clown stuff. And this is just not working for me at all.
Maybe Miz and Kit steal the money, and Danhausen and Dom unite, and it's Dom's babyface turn. All right, enough. Sadler says, Sadler version 3 in the chat goes, Kit Wilson, another hot character they threw in the ice bath in cool down for no reason. All right, Penta and Chad Gable, one-on-one. There's a little bit of this Minnesota Star Tribune, our top newspaper, had a story on Chad Gable today, or column from grizzled veteran columnist Patrick Royce. I saw it. I didn't read it yet, so I got to read that. They did a nice vignette on him on a previous show. What are your thoughts when they booked this? First of all, it just plays into like, let's not give fans anyone to just 100% root for. Let's make it. Let's make every person you cheer for you feel guilty because you like the other guy too.
Yeah, that does also come up. But I mean, it's interesting because when I gave this more thought, because it comes full circle, because Penta was the whole Grande Americano started when Penta beat Gable, and that's when Gable decided that he can't beat the Luchadors, so he created the gimmick. So essentially, it comes full circle, and he's on paper, it should be like a heartwarming and everything, but the issue that most of the stuff happened in Mexico and AAA. A lot of the drama happened there, and it feels more like you're supposed to. These are the emotions we're expecting you to feel, but sadly we just haven't we haven't had enough time with this version of Gable to really care for him to. Hey, he's finishing his story, so to speak.
And Gable's not a great charismatic babyface character. Yeah. Is there any chance that they booked this because one or the other's turning heel?
I mean, if Gable turns heel, it's because they gave up on what they were trying to do. Penta heel might be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It crossed my mind. I mean, he's popular, and you could do that, but I could see that elevating him, and there's a lot of potential for different matchups that might freshen him up. It might be his chance to move up the card a bit. If he's, I don't know how you'd. I don't have in my mind how you fully fleshed out how you do it, but I'm kind of intrigued with something kind of surprising, and if they find a way to make that work. Can I say that more?
If they were to do a heel Penta the way that he was in Lucha Underground, where he was just like breaking people's arms and stuff, obviously don't do that because that's you can't do that on WWE. But like something where he's like an aggressive and not an aggressive fighter. I'd like to see that. I just don't trust that they would do what they need to do with a heel Penta.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Seth Roman.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff I have to say ties into is Reigns heel babyface? What were we supposed to feel about it? Overall, you could have just told the story of their history and that's it, and leave it at that, and not bring up the fact that Roman was a bad promo for most of his career, and don't bring up the fact that management was the one who put him in that position. That was completely unnecessary. I mean, I liked Seth Rollins talking about how there are different types of wrestlers where he essentially said Roman was the wrestler who does what he's told and hopes to get rich, while he's the one who cares about the actual art of wrestling. I just don't think they got there the right way, and they got that through the meta realm, which is again unnecessary. I mean, seriously, just the you've never beaten me when it counts was just about enough, and we're about to retire, and you never beat. Like the moments that you remember are me getting over on you. Breaking up the Shield, that was me getting over on you. Cashing in at WrestleMania, that's me getting over on you. Me winning the title in the three-way with Punk and taking your wise man, that was me getting over on you. You might have won, but the big moments that people are going to remember are these. The most important cash-in of all time, and this is your last chance to do something about it. That's a strong enough storyline.
Yes.
Didn't have to go all the other way you went.
I am hoping the reaction to Seth's promo about you got you're favored by management, and it wasn't like there's a way to pull that off, and like my idea was like Roman, when you became number one contender, it magically happened right before big shows, so they could put you on the poster because they thought you were more marketable. And for me, I had to win Money in the Bank and sneak in. Like you can weave it into kayfabe, you can weave it into storyline to say you got favored and preferential treatment because. And people go, well, it's true. They perceive you as more marketable, and you go, well, management, Vince wasn't crazy to think that. But you can also make fun of Reigns for sort of flailing, trying to be something he wasn't, to try to fit a mold, to live in the to follow in the footsteps of the people who came before him. Again, you can do that in a way where it feels like it was a choice by Roman, not something scripted for him to do. There is a sophisticated, nuanced way to do what Seth was trying to do, but he was so hacked, so derivative, so tired, so blah with what he did, that I hope it is a wake-up call. Maybe the Grayson Waller thing is not an encouraging sign on NXT on Tuesday, however you feel about that it's time to move away from that stuff, because it's not shocking anymore. It's not like, oh my God, you won't believe what just happened. Seth broke the fourth wall. That's not what people want anymore. It's like the attention economy. It used to be, oh my God, I can follow people on social media and talk to them. And now it's like the new flex is not being on social media. It's the new flex is not having the latest technology and not being a mark and a victim pulled into the attention economy, where they're just giving you this world that doesn't exist, but you think it does by feeding you with an algorithm, something that they know you're addicted to, like cigarettes. Seth, there was a point where something is novel and new, and then it becomes some derivative, corrupt version that isn't in the spirit of what it originally was, like social media has become. The shoot promo is the same thing. We're way past it, and Seth should know it, and it shows, frankly, how unsophisticated he is as a student of the game, that he still thinks that's the approach to take. He should have the clout to say no to whatever writer handed him that stuff, or if he came up with it, he should know better. There's my rant on it. I hope a lesson is learned. I hope Seth is like, whoa, I didn't realize this stuff was passé so much and people hated it. Now I won't do it anymore, because frankly, since then, Cody and Punk didn't step in it, and Seth was better about it this week. So I am hoping it's all worth it in the end that Seth did that, Javier, so we don't get it ever again anymore, regardless of whatever Grayson did and how you feel about that realm.
Yeah, let's retire the pipe bomb promos.
Yes. Let's retire talking about anything other than, does it pass through the filter of people get pushes because they win. People are champion because they win matches. People are on TV because it's the powers behind the scenes give TV time to winners. You get on Sunday Night Football because you have a winning record. Is there a bias for New York Giants or the Cowboys? Yes. But you don't get chosen to win because you're the Cowboys. You still have to win. That's why I say there's a nuanced, sophisticated way to do what Seth was trying to do, and he failed at it.
They're doing it on SmackDown with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's complaining that Punk and Cody keep getting all the shots, but he's complaining with something where, yes, in the UFC, the guy who has a 500 record, but is super charismatic, might get a title shot.
Who never lost a title? In Punk's case, and Cody as the ex-champ, who didn't get a fair rematch.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is like you could make a complaint about management screwing you over for those reasons, because because they want the charismatic guy to have a shot at the title. You could make those, and Zayn's made those comments, But when you start talking about, because I think the kicker for me was when he starts talking about you can't cut a promo. And by the way, Knight heads into that direction a few times too. So, that's when you start. And by the way, this was a long time ago. Why are you bringing this back up now?
Yeah.
You don't want people thinking about that. Roman Reigns is still your top draw. Yep. Why the hell are you bringing this up?
That's what I felt about the whole WrestleMania build. That's why I felt. That's why I didn't like Punk and Roman in WrestleMania. It's just there was this residual. They're both jerks and pricks and egotistical, and they all have these fault lines that just got amplified and attention drawn to them in the build. Stop doing it. Protect your stars. Treat them like big deals. But if you're going to have someone rip on someone, have it be a babyface making good points about a heel that is within the realm of, if this were real, that's what would have been said. You've got to filter it through. If this were an actual sport, would this be being said? And if you can pull it off, pull it off. But if you can't, don't go there. Like, if you can't pull that off and make it seem like something that would be said if it were real. There was storyline justification for Punk and Cody having a one-on-one match for all kinds of reasons. Not all kinds, like dozens, but like 2 or 3 good reasons. It made sense. But Sammy also, as his character, you understand why Sammy feels he's been overlooked. Now, there's a danger that the heat is on management. It's like in WWE Unreal, where Paul Levesque's like, in this, by the way, WWE Unreal backs up my contention that John Cena has, for among the top stars of the last 50 years, bottom 10% of wrestling IQ. In terms of understanding the industry, he has a completely fundamental different view of the business that does not serve anybody else but him, including calling himself the last world champion while he's retiring, and he thinks that's his way to give back, while he's touting himself for putting NXT wrestlers on a show that he's on. Not the highest wrestling IQ, not even close. And he's out there saying, yeah, I want to have bad matches despite the fans. And I noted this in another show, Javier. Terry Taylor used to do that on house shows, WCW house shows. Like, fans would taunt him if they for having a rest hold. This is like circa 1987. And they'd give him a hard time at a house show for doing a rest hold. And he'd be like, well, I'm going to sit in the, he'd shout, I'm going to stay in this for 10 minutes to spite you. Like, you know, like, he was a heel and he was like, you guys are marks too. I'm going to turn you into marks. You think you're smart and you're not. That was, you know, the emergence of the Observer and the Torch and you know, quote, so-called smart fans and sheet readers. So that's been done at a house show in front of a couple thousand people. John Cena's idea, Paul Levesque responded to by going, I'm sorry, John, but the heat's going to be on us, the company, management. It's not going to be on you as a heel if you have boring matches. They're going to blame us for authorizing something really low IQ and stupid. It's a bad idea. He put it as nicely as he can because everyone pussyfoots around John Cena because he's a big star and he thinks he knows a lot more than he does. And when he leaves the room, everyone exhales and goes, thank God he's gone, because he's phony. And everyone, I can't say everyone feels that way, but a lot of people feel that way. So there's bad ideas about how to get heel heat, and then there's good ideas on how to get heel heat. But if your promo is blaming management for bad decisions, that's not how you sell a match. That's how you pick at scabs in a way that breaks the immersion that you want immersion. You want fans to buy in. You want that peak fan experience. When you pick at scabs of the past of decisions management made, that's not getting people to care about the match. It's causing scabs to be picked and bleed again. Stop doing it. And Seth should know better. Cena should know better. But there's a lot of people with main event matches who don't sit and watch the product, and they're on social media and they have this little bubble the algorithm fed them, and they think that's the whole world. And then we get crap like that promo, Javier.
Yep. I mean, you know, I think you hit one nail. It's particularly talking about like past sins. Those are the ones that are like even worse. Because, like, you know, like on a like, again, you know, Gunther has you know, Gunther can complain that management screwed him, you know, because they literally pulled him out of the ring, or you know, stopped the, you know, so you from their perspective you can talk about it, but you're talking about it within the actual structure of the show itself. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not talking about outside. You're not talking about TKO is the one who booked it. You're not talking about the bookers. You're talking about, like, you know, the matchmakers within, you know, you're talking about Pierce, you're talking about Aldis as the bad guys, and you're putting, you know, whatever, you know, your complaints on them, which, you know, works. But at the same time, I'm putting that with the caveat: don't use complaints that people actually see as real, mm-hmm. because then you're actually thinking about, you know, what's going on.
Unless you're complaining about Sammy being an annoying pest.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, because I mentioned that. Don't bring up. I don't like the idea they're calling, unless the idea is to turn him heel. I don't like the idea you're bringing up Cody as the Golden Boy and repeating it over and over again.
Yep,
he's the Golden Boy. He's the Golden Boy, because you're going to start. People are going to start booing him because he's the Golden Boy.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, I think the ship sailed on Punk being a hypocrite, because I think even his fans know he's a hypocrite. You know, so I think that he's Teflon when it comes to that. But don't bring up those kind of things. Don't bring up, you know, Reigns being, you know, I'll tell you what. One of the things that I'm kind of been lost some interest in Reigns is at his babyface matches, him going back to the Superman punch, and he wrestling more babyface style than he used to. And I'm like, no, do what the stuff that you used to do before. Just keep with the rest holds and those kind of moves. Stop giving me the flashy moves, because you're not cool doing the Superman punch. So that wasn't a side. Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, we have asides. It's baked into the show format. 7-Eleven says, has it been discussed about the possibility of returns of Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, or Drew McIntyre? Javier, did that enter your mind right in the primer, or has it entered your mind, or what do you think of the possibility now that I bring it up? I
have learned, don't expect them on the show. Expect them on the day after the show, with very few exceptions. And in this case, maybe an Orton, if they're going to continue the Orton Cody feud. If they're going to continue that, maybe Orton ends up getting involved in that match, and that's an out. I was trying to keep away from too many, because one of the things I noticed a lot of my primers, I'm expecting interference in every match, but they've been pretty good not having those in on their PLEs. So I've moved away from that unless something makes obvious sense. So I had a hard time figuring out who between Punk and Cody, if they're both going to stay babyface. One way would be if Orton gets involved, or KO. KO also had bad blood with he was feuding with Cody before he got injured, right? Yeah. The McIntyre, I don't want to put him in. I think McIntyre, if he shows up, will be later, and I don't even know where you're going to put him in, because I don't see where he fits in right now.
Oba, heel opponent.
I was just about to say that. Oba after that.
Yeah. All right, real quick, so I want to wrap up in a minute. Super chat from Derek Mitchell. Wade, random question. As a lifelong fan, has any wrestling moment ever brought you to tears? For me, is Macho Man winning the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 9 and his 1991 proposal to Miss Elizabeth. Derek, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Dinner's on you tomorrow. I appreciate it. These questions get me in trouble because at age 16, I started PWTorch. I did so with the goal to be a journalist, and I enjoy watching wrestling, and I had almost 10 years of being just a fan, like 8 years of being just a fan, and experiencing peak fan experiences and thinking a death match meant someone was going to die when Mad Dog Vachon and Crusher Jerry Blackwell had a death match. And I got to see Bruiser Brody and Crusher Blackwell have brawls of the century in my eyes, and got to see the rise of Hulkamania and Bobby Heenan at his absolute best as a manager in my hometown promotion. I got to see the wrestling wars in front of me. I remember where I was when I saw the WrestleMania commercial and realized I was going to get to watch a WWE event live on closed circuit, and I was so excited about that. And I got to experience world-class championship wrestling out of Dallas, Texas at its peak, being in syndication and planning my weekends around it at 5 p.m. on Channel 29 every week. Absolutely, like that. It was so awesome to grow up in the era that I did, getting the tail end of the territories, and then being in the midst of the wrestling wars and the drop off the territories, but also the wrestling blocks where you got to see 5 shows from all over the country on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and wrestling blocks in syndication. And I got to experience and see and like on TV almost every territory that I was reading about in the magazines for years, but didn't get to see the wrestlers. And then everybody came to town. WWF, AWA, WCW, or Jim Crockett, NWA, Mid-South, world-class promised, but never did. And I got to be part of seeing the burgeoning indie scene when indie wrestling got really big. All that said, I don't remember ever coming to tears for sure after I started the Torch, because I just had to cover wrestling and look at wrestling through a different lens, being a journalist. And so, no, I was looking at how am I going to write about this? Is it best for business? Is this a good angle? Is it going to draw ratings? Is it funny? Is it effective? How are other fans reacting to it? It just changed my perspective. I felt a responsibility in that way to do so. And then before that, I don't think as a kid I teared up like watching Mad Dog Vachon finally avenge Crusher Jerry Blackwell in a death match, but I might have. But I don't remember that. So there's my answer to it when people ask like that kind of question of me. It kind of goes against the lens through which I've watched wrestling since I was a teenager, because I started the Torch so young. Kind of shifted me into a different gear. Javier, how about you?
Well, I cry like a little bitch. But when it comes to wrestling, I would say top of mind was the match made in heaven, match made in heaven. Maybe also the proposal. I'm not sure about that one. I also cried when Undertaker was killed. They opened up the orm and they killed him. I was young.
It was on your 28th birthday. I remember that.
Yep. And the most recent was Bray Wyatt's return.
Okay.
When he came back.
All right.
Everybody in the, because I think I was watching it with my my brother and his wife, and like at least she and I were bawling. So because he was her favorite wrestler. So when he came out and there's like the emotion and like the crowd just going nuts for him, and the stuff that was a moment. That's not to include like obviously the wrestling fatalities and stuff like that. So.
different category. 7-Eleven is going to sneak this in. I think Kevin Owens sides with Sammy if he's in a program with Punk, and he causes and because Punk versus KO is something I need to see. So maybe when we're talking about wrestlers coming in, Kevin Owens and Sammy almost have to be aligned or opposed, but involved in the same story. And obviously, CM Punk and Kevin Owens could be fantastic in some form or fashion. I just hope we have a designated heel and a face. And if Punk turned heel and KO's a babyface and KO comes in and explains why Sammy's been making sense, but let me help my friend get grounded again. And he's been hysterical and I can talk him out of it. We'll get our old Sammy back. But in the meantime, I got one more run in me as world champ, and CM Punk, you've been pissing me off. I mean, let's do it.
Dude, for me, CM Punk heel, and because of the stuff that Punk has been telling to his wife, seeing Punk be the motivation that gets Johnny Wrestling to stand up. That would be, and then have the crowd would go nuts.
Yep. Sadler Virgin 3 about crying, by the way. Sadler Virgin 2 says, I'm not emotional and never cry watching stuff, but I randomly was channel surfing and stopped at HBK versus Flair in the post match. It almost got me, which is weird because I've watched that match before. LOL. Goodfella says Bray's return was awesome. Sean Plicta says fans are going to cheer KO 100%, which is why I turned Punk heel for my scenario. Because I think as good as Punk is, I just don't think he can get cheered against KO. Unless KO is really up for the challenge. Derek says that was a great emotional moment for me, but my 2 moments as a teenager in the 80s with Savage. Yep, I get that. All right. Go VIP, everybody. Sign up. We got our SummerSlam coverage this weekend. Roundtable reviews after both nights. Rich Fan and Todd Martin joining me for VIP exclusive roundtables. You get ad-free access to everything we do on our website. I'll have live coverage of SummerSlam, and we'll have post shows. Greg Park's hosting tomorrow night. Derek Hubbard will be co-hosting also this weekend. So join us for that. PWTorch VIPinfo.com is where you go to support us if you believe in what we do. If you've listened, watched this long, and you like our brand of wrestling coverage, it really means a lot if you support us. We are not a big corporation. We're not spamming you with fake headlines and that kind of thing. If you respect that and you want to support a small business that's been doing this a long time, and if you think we have integrity in how we approach it, VIP membership is the best way to show that. We appreciate everybody. Obviously, not everybody has it in their budget or they don't think it's worth. I get that, but if you're on the fence, it's a good weekend to go VIP. You can also catch up on our roundtable, VIP exclusive roundtable podcast after AW's pay-per-view last Sunday, and also a really fun edition of The Fix, the longest of the year so far, on Thursday night. Rich Fan and I had a really good conversation on everything on Tuesday. Plus, we give you VIP exclusive after shows on the flagships often. And Nikki's Club is up, VIP exclusive, with his preview of SummerSlam weekend. Go VIP now. Listen to that before Saturday night. Nikki is just a really, really fun podcast friend to experience WWE with, the way that he presents his show and his memory and his insights and his enthusiasm and how the high IQ of his analysis that doesn't always march in lockstep with conventional wisdom. But often it does, and it'll convince you why you should be part of that lockstep too. So anyway, I could go on and on. Great content with VIP, with a VIP membership, PWTorch, VIPinfo.com. Javier, I'm so glad you were on tonight. I'm so glad you got caught up. I love having you on before a big show like this, and you brought it too. So thank you for that.
Thanks. What was that? It's too late. Time.
It is late.
Always happy to be here.
Awesome. All right. You can get, by the way, a 7-day free trial on Patreon. If you go to Patreon and enter PWTorch VIP. Otherwise, full VIP membership, PWTorch, VIPinfo.com. That full VIP membership unlocks nearly 4 decades of archives, customizable podcast feed for each of our individual VIP shows or clusters of shows, on-demand access to our 90s material and the last 20-plus years of podcasts, and our newsletter archives. So PWTorch, VIPinfo.com. That's it for me. Thank you, everybody. I hope I got to every super chat, and big thanks to those who gave super chats. Obviously, king of the super chats is never in question, Derek Mitchell, with that. All right. Cool. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you a lot this weekend.